Hello friends, this is your friend back with a new fanfic. What if Naruto unlocked Uzumaki and Namikaze Bloodline at the same time? Episode 2 full story complete. If you like this story, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and leave your thoughts in the comments. Now, after unlocking both the Uzumaki and Namikaze bloodlines, Naruto stands at the peak of his destiny. The final chapter of his incredible journey is about to begin. Now, let's start. At Konoha Training Ground 7 at 12 o'clock. At 12 o'clock stood only two people. Sasuke and Sakura said they had been waiting for their sensei and other teammate of 2 hours and they were annoyed and hungry, but suddenly Kakashi appeared wavering at two of his students and not even being bothered by the angrily looks he was getting from them. "Good morning you two," said Kakashi. "Where have you been? We had waited for you for over 2 hours." Sakura shouted very loudly and angrily. "Well, you see, I am making my way here, but a black cat crossed my path, so I had to go the long way around," said Kakashi. "Don't you dare give us that lame excuses," Sakura shouted. "Anyway, where's Naruto?" Kakashi asks, realizing that Naruto wasn't there. "He hasn't shown up," Sasuke said, slightly jealous because Naruto didn't have to wait 2 hours for Kakashi to finally show up. "Actually, I've been here for the past 20 minutes, Naruto said, sitting on a tree branch, surprising Kakashi, Sasuke and Sakura. "What? Why didn't we hear you?" Sakura shouted in surprise. "Because you were too busy dreaming about Sasuke and he was busy thinking about revenge," Naruto said, lying completely because thanks to his father's memories he knew that Kakashi is always late unless it was for an important mission, so when he said to be here at 10 o'clock he would actually show up at 12 o'clock. "But how didn't I notice him at all until he spoke?" Kakashi thought. It was curious. Kakashi then walks over to a rock and places a clock on it before walking back over to Naruto, Sasuke and Sakura, and then he pulls out 2 bells from his pocket. "You three have 1 hour to get these bells from me or all of you will be sent back to the academy," said Kakashi, causing Sasuke and Sakura to tense up while Naruto didn't seem bothered by it at all. "But in Kakashi-sensei there are only 2 bells," said Sakura. "Impressive, Sakura. I didn't know you could count," Naruto said in a mocking tone. "Shut up, Naruto," Sakura shouted angrily. "Make me," Naruto said again in a mocking tone as he knew Sakura wouldn't be able to do anything against him as she barely does any physical activity to get stronger as she's too focused on her looks to impress Sasuke. Instead try to impress him by showing him that she's a badass kunoichi. "Now there's no need for fighting anyway. It means that one of you will be sent back to the academy," said Kakashi. "Being." Kakashi shouted, and in that moment Sasuke and Sakura jumped into the brush while Naruto just disappeared. I can sense Sasuke is in a tree while Sakura is in the forest, but I can't sense Naruto. How's that possible? Kakashi thought as he walked into the forest. In the forest, Sakura wasn't hiding or even planning to get the bells from Kakashi. Instead she was walking around the forest shouting very loudly for Sasuke. "Sasuke-kun, where are you, Sasuke-kun?" Sakura shouted, looking for her true love. Suddenly she heard something behind her, and as she was around to see what it was, but what she saw both shocked and horrified her. There stood leaning on a tree was Sasuke, who was bleeding badly. Saw Sakura. Please help me, Sasuke begged. Sasuke-kun, Sakura said while she was on the edge of crying. Please help me, Sakura, Sasuke said before falling to the ground dead. Sakura screamed and then passed out. As she did, the Sasuke in front of her faded away, and up in the trees sitting on a branch was Kakashi. Maybe I overdid it a bit, but she should have seen through the demonic illusion, hell viewing technique, as her report said that she's one of the most gifted kunoichis of this year's graduation class, Kakashi thought before leaving. Back on the training ground. As Kakashi walked out of the forest he quickly took out a kunai and blocked the incoming shuriken that was for his head. He has some good aim there, thought Kakashi as he watched Sasuke out behind a tree. So you decided that you would be the first to try to get the bells, said Kakashi. Don't underestimate me, I'm not like the other two, I'm far better than them, Sasuke said as went his clan's fighting stance, the interceptor style. That is yet to be seen, said Kakashi who just stood. Sasuke changed at Kakashi at a Chunin level of speed which surprised him, and he then continued to block and dodge Sasuke's attacks, which impressive. Kakashi by how far skilled Sasuke was in taijutsu because he was managing to push him back but however Sasuke jumped away and threw several shurikens and kunais at Kakashi who managed to dodge all of him with ease, however he did fell for a trap that Sasuke laid out for him where several move kunai and shuriken were fired at him when Sasuke pick up one the kunais that thrown and use it to cut a rope line. As Kakashi dodged all of Sasuke's shurikens and kunais, Sasuke quickly ran at Kakashi and once again engaged Kakashi in taijutsu, but as Kakashi managed to dodge and block Sasuke's attacks, he quickly realized that Sasuke wasn't truly trying to fight him but instead distract Kakashi as he got closer to grab one of the bells from Kakashi. Upon realizing what Sasuke's aim was, Kakashi saw Sasuke that was about to grab one of the bells. Kakashi managed to jump away in the nick of time, but Sasuke managed to slightly touch one of the bells. Okay, now that was close. This kid is pretty good, I got to be careful with him around or else, thought Kakashi. As Kakashi jumped away, Sasuke thought that he needed to up his game if he wanted to pass the exam, so he began to do hand signs. Fire style. Fireball jutsu, Sasuke said as he let out a middle-size fireball through his mouth. As the fireball headed towards Kakashi who just stood there out of shock. How can a mere genin be capable of doing a C-rank fire ninjutsu technique, thought Kakashi. As the fireball engulfed Kakashi, Sasuke saw that this was his chance, so he quickly ran over to Kakashi to grab off the bells, but to his surprise he couldn't find her anyway. Where the hell is he? Behind me, above, Sasuke thought as he tried to find where Kakashi was. But suddenly something grabbed Sasuke's ankles, and as he looked down to see what it was, he saw Kakashi's head sticking out of the ground. Looking for me, Kakashi said before he pulled Sasuke underground, leaving only his head by using the earth style double suicide decapitation jutsu, after which Kakashi came out of the ground and kneeling down in front of Sasuke. Well Sasuke, I got to admit you are indeed talented. I didn't expect to be pushed this far, Kakashi said before he got up and walked away. You can't leave me like this, Sasuke shouted angrily. Just then Sakura, who had regained consciousness, walked out from the forest but only to see Sasuke's head on the floor. Aarrr! Sakura screamed in terror. Sakura, I'm not dead, it's just that the rest of my body is buried underneath, said Sasuke. Don't worry Sasuke-kun, I will get you out of this, Sakura said as she ran over to help Sasuke. Suddenly Naruto appeared and started walking towards Kakashi. So there you are, I was wondering where you gotta go, said Kakashi. But seriously, where the hell did he go? I couldn't sense him anyway at all, thought Kakashi. Naruto, help me get Sasuke out of this, Sakura demanded. However, Naruto just ignored her and continued to walk over to Kakashi with a serious look on his face. So you want to take a chance and try to get the bells by yourself? Then let's see if you have better luck than Sasuke did, said Kakashi. Well, I want to pass your test, but also I want to fight against someone who is actually strong, Naruto said. He just went into his fighting stance, which made Kakashi curious as he hadn't seen this stance before. Naruto in a burst of speed that was Jonin level charged at Kakashi, which caught him by surprise, while to Sasuke and Sakura he just disappear and reappear in front of Kakashi, as Naruto attacked Kakashi with His taijutsu, to which he actually managed to land his blows on Kakashi, who could only block and dodge them at the best of his ability, and Naruto then flip upside down in the air and start to kick Kakashi to distract him while he use his hands to grab one the bells of Kakashi's belt. However, Kakashi saw that Naruto was try to the same thing that Sasuke had tried before, so he kick at Naruto in his chest to get him away. He's a lot faster and stronger than the avenging genin, Kakashi thought while also thinking about a certain Bushibo shinobi. As Naruto managed to land his feet back on the ground, he then did a couple hand signs and said, "Shadow Clone Jutsu," which surprised Kakashi as he didn't know that Naruto knew that jutsu. In a proof of smoke, 10 more Narutos appear, who all then change at Kakashi while the real Naruto disappears into the forest. Now then, where did the real one run off to? Kakashi thought as he managed to land a single blow on each of the clones, then made his way into the forest to find the real Naruto. However, as Kakashi walked in the forest, suddenly he sensed something was coming, and just then a big gust of wind came out and smacked Kakashi, which sent him flying into a couple of trees, and as Kakashi lay down by the fallen trees, he had one thought going through his head. That was a wind style, but the Hokage told me that Naruto had shown that he possessed both lightning and fire chakra natures, so how can he perform wind style jutsus as well? Thought Kakashi as he picked himself up of the ground, but to kick in the back by Naruto. "Okay, I see that you definitely ain't playing around," Kakashi said as he picked himself up again while also looking at Naruto. "This is a battle, so why would I?" Naruto said as he released his sword from its seal, which shocked Kakashi as he recognized the sword that Naruto was holding. That sword. It's Kushina's the Midnight Sword, but how or where did he get his hands on it? Thought Kakashi. Kakashi quickly brought out from his back pocket 2 kunais and held one in each of his hands to block Naruto's attacks with his sword. Naruto then changed at Kakashi at same level of speed as before, and as he got to Kakashi he did a upper slice at him, to which cut part of Kakashi's Konoha's flak jacket, but he managed to block with his kunais by doing a X shape. However, Naruto was able to break free and swing his sword around and cut Kakashi's left arm, causing it to bleed, and he followed it up with a kick to Kakashi's side, which push. "Okay, I'm actually having a bit of trouble here," thought Kakashi. Naruto continued his assault on Kakashi, who could only avoid them and then blocked until Naruto had enough and started to channel chakra through his sword, causing it to glow brightly, and with one upper swing Naruto managed to shatter both Kakashi's kunais into pieces. That was chakra flow. Okay, seriously, how does he know to do that? Kakashi thought as he avoided Naruto's next attacks by jumping away from him. However, he saw Naruto wasn't coming at him, which confused Kakashi. Leaf Ninja Art. Yanagi Technique. Naruto said before he began to wave his sword back and forth, which caused Kakashi to hallucinate, and with his guard down, Naruto began freely cut Kakashi, where to Kakashi he saw multiple waving arms out to slash them. However, eventually he managed to break, and once he did, he immediately jump away from Naruto. That was a genjutsu, the Leaf Ninja Art. Yanagi technique, but his record says that he wasn't good in genjutsu, so he really was trained by him then, Kakashi thought. The only reason why that worked on Kakashi was because he didn't expect Naruto to be able to use genjutsu. That's an interesting technique you got there, Naruto. Your record said you weren't any good at doing genjutsu, so how do you perform it? Kakashi asked curiously. Though hard work, Naruto said simply. Fair enough, Kakashi said before he jumped to the trees, but as he was about to reach a branch, something flew past him and cut the branch completely, forcing Kakashi to land back on the floor. But just as he turned around to see whatever it was, Kakashi saw Naruto instead of channeling normal chakra though his sword, he was channeling wind chakra and swung it in a horizontal slash and shouted, "Wind slash," where he created a crescent-shaped blade of wind. The blade of wind flew at Kakashi at a very quick phase. However, thanks to Kakashi's quick reflexes, he just managed to avoid Naruto's deadly technique, although he did receive a deep cut on his bottom left leg. But the technique didn't stop there as it continued and went on and cut down 2 trees that were behind Kakashi. What was that technique just now? I've never seen or even heard of such a technique before. Kakashi thought in shock. However, Kakashi quickly snapped out of his shock when he saw Naruto was about to unleash another one of his attacks at him, to which Kakashi continued to make his way out of the forest, but only to be chased after by Naruto, who continued to unleash more of his wind slashes at Kakashi, which cut down many trees. As Kakashi jumped out of the forest and landed in the middle of the training ground, he saw that Sakura had finally finished digging Sasuke out, but just then Naruto walked out of the forest, revealing his sword so that he could perform some hand signs. Lighting style. Lighting roar, Naruto said as he let out a blast of lighting through his mouth, and it destroyed everything in its path, and because of its speed and large range, Kakashi couldn't escape in time and was completely hit by it. Sasuke and Sakura stare at Naruto's attack in awe and shock. What was that jutsu? Thought Sakura. Where did he learn that jutsu? Sasuke thought. However, as the smoke cleared, it revealed Kakashi was there, and for a second Sasuke and Sakura thought that Naruto had completely destroyed Kakashi, but just Kakashi appear behind Naruto in a crouch position and his hands form a tiger seal. Second rule of being a shinobi, Naruto, never let your enemy get behind you, said Kakashi. Konohagakure's most secret and sacred technique, 1000 years of death, Kakashi said as he inserted his index and middle fingers at Naruto's rectum. But as he did, the Naruto in front of him exploded, causing a massive explosion. Fortunately though for Kakashi, he managed to evade the explosion just in time. That was the clone great explosion. First he knew the shadow clone jutsu, and now this is where he is learning all these techniques from, thought Kakashi. The real Naruto quickly ran out of the forest and threw a couple of kunais and shurikens at Kakashi, who managed to dodge them. However, before Naruto continued his attack on Kakashi, the alarm clock rang, meaning that the test was over. Afterwards, Naruto and Sasuke stood next to wooden poles while Sakura was tied to one with Kakashi standing in front of them. Okay, seeing that none of you, let's talk about what went wrong, said Kakashi. Sakura, you were too occupied trying to find Sasuke to even do anything to pass the test, and you failed to notice that you got caught by my genjutsu, said Kakashi. Sasuke, while you did try to get the bells off me and you did a good job in trying, however you didn't think about working with the others, believing that they would have held you back, said Kakashi. Naruto, you were the same as Sasuke, while you did a good job trying, but you didn't try to work with either Sasuke or Sakura, said Kakashi. However, I got to pass them, or the civilian council will be pissed off that didn't pass Sasuke because they want me to train him in everything that I know, and Sakura's mother will get them angrily, and as for Naruto, the Hokage wants me to keep an eye on him, and after seeing this I can understand why, thought Kakashi. Actually, Kakashi-sensei, I did manage to get both bells from you, Naruto said, holding them in his hands. Kakashi, Sasuke and Sakura just stare at Naruto in shock. No way he actually managed to get them while Sasuke-kun couldn't, thought Sakura. How did he get them and when I couldn't? Sasuke thought. When did he get them off me? Thought Kakashi. Naruto, when did you manage to get them? Kakashi asked curiously. I took them off you when I had you under my genjutsu, said Naruto. Makes sense, but still, how did he manage to grab them? He was far away. Kakashi thought, unaware that Naruto had used his chakra mold ability to grab them during his attack. Then why didn't you say that you got them off me? Kakashi asked curiously. Because I wanted to see how I fare against you, said Naruto. Okay, well done Naruto. However, as for Sasuke and Sakura, you two will also pass the test because I believe despite your problems you two have potential to become great shinobi in the future, Kakashi said, making up an excuse as to why they truly pass. It is most likely he doesn't want to get in trouble with the civilian council for failing Sasuke and Sakura, thought Naruto. So now we have Team 7, said Kakashi. Yes, I'm going to be with Sasuke no matter what, Sakura thought happily. He seems pretty good, maybe he can help me get stronger, thought Sasuke. Okay, let's meet at the Hokage's mansion for our first mission as a team, said Kakashi. As Naruto, Sasuke and Sakura left Kakashi alone, he had one thought going through his head. The Hokage is going to want to know what happened, Kakashi thought as he walked towards the Hokage's office. Okay, well done Naruto. However, as for Sasuke and Sakura, you two will also pass the test because I believe despite your problems you two have potential to become great shinobi in the future, Kakashi said, making up an excuse as to why they truly pass. It is most likely he doesn't want to get in trouble with the civilian council for failing Sasuke and Sakura, thought Naruto. So now we have Team 7, said Kakashi. Yes, I'm going to be with Sasuke no matter what, Sakura thought happily. He seems pretty good, maybe he can help me get stronger, thought Sasuke. Okay, let's meet at the Hokage's mansion for our first mission as a team, said Kakashi. As Naruto, Sasuke and Sakura left Kakashi alone, he had one thought going through his head. The Hokage's going to want to know what happened, Kakashi thought as he walked towards the Hokage's office. Deep within the forest that surrounded Konohagakure, something was running as fast as it could away from Konoha, and if someone could see in its eyes they were able to see it had hope of escaping. I'm almost there and I'll never have to deal with that thing ever again, the creature thought hopefully. I think it went this way. Someone shouted very loudly. Damn it. I thought I had lost them, the creature thought. But just then in a golden flash someone with violet animal-like eyes appeared right in front of the creature, causing the creature to stop and stare at the person in fear as the creature's instincts told it to not mess with this person, and before the creature could do anything the person reached out and grabbed hold of the creature. Damn it. The creature thought in despair. Kakashi-sensei, I've caught the cat, said the person. Back to normal point of view. Great work Naruto, I think that's a new record for catching Tora, Kakashi said over the headset. But Kakashi-sensei, Sasuke-kun and I did all the work while Naruto did nothing until now. Shouldn't he get in trouble for not helping us sooner? Sakura complained. Well, actually Sakura, I thought that you and Sasuke needed to improve your stamina and I saw this an opportunity to help you, Naruto said, completely lying, as in truth he found it funny seeing Sasuke and Sakura failing at trying to catch a cat. Shut up, Naruto, or else. Sakura shouted angrily. Or else what? Your threads don't scare me Haruno, said Naruto. Now everyone just calm down Naruto, can you bring Tora back to the village, but be careful, she might try to escape, said Kakashi. Sure thing Kakashi-sensei, said Naruto. Although it kind of makes you wonder why it runs away a lot, Naruto thought curiously as he walked back to Konoha with Tora. At the Hokage's office. That explains it, Naruto thought as look at the scene in front of him. As right in front of him Naruto watches as Madame Shijimi, the wife of Daimyo of the Land of Fire, hugs, strangles her cat Tora. I kind of feel like I shouldn't have brought it back, Naruto thought, actually feeling sorry for the cat. Great job Team 7. Now as for your next mission, you can choose from helping with the client's grocery, paint another client, fence, or babysit, said Iruka. Tora, come back, shouted Madame Shijimi. Or now bring Tora back to Madame Shijimi, said Iruka. No way. Sasuke-kun deserves a far better mission than any of these pointless ones. Sakura shouted, which Sasuke agreed with but didn't say anything. These missions ain't pointless Sakura, they are to help you to improve your teamwork for future missions that are higher in rank, Iruka explained. I need a harder mission so that I can become even stronger, said Sasuke. You're not ready for them. You're just a brand new genin team, said Iruka. Iruka, if they think they are ready for a higher rank mission, why don't we just give them a C rank only if you think they ready, Kakashi? Ask Hiruzen. Yeah sure, Kakashi said as he continued to read his book. Okay then please bring in the client, Hiruzen said to Jonin. After a couple of minutes an old man walked in the room. These are the shinobi that I hired. They look like they belong in school, said the old man. Mr. Tazuna, please don't underestimate my shinobis because of their age, said Hiruzen. I'm just saying that I wanted real shinobi, not childer. Before Tazuna could finish his sentence, he felt something sharp against his neck, and as he looked down he saw Naruto, who was holding a kunai against his neck. Tazuna could finish his sentence and he felt something against his chin, and as he looked down he saw Naruto, whose right fist was his chin. Listen to our Hokage and don't underestimate me, Naruto said in a serious tone which scared Tazuna. While all of this was happening, everyone else in the room all thought about what just happened. How did he get there so fast? Thought Sakura. How is he able to move like that? Sasuke thought. At least I know that this mission isn't going to be that difficult, as it being a C rank and having Naruto will just make it that more easier, thought Kakashi. So Kakashi didn't overestimate Naruto's speed, Hiruzen thought. I still find it hard to believe that a new genin has that kind of power, thought Iruka. What the hell? Tazuna thought, terrified. Now Naruto, it's bad for business to threaten the client, said Hiruzen. Yes, Hokage-san, Naruto said as he pulled his kunai away and then walked back to where he was standing a moment ago. As you can see, Tazuna does not underestimate my shinobi, even genins, said Hiruzen. Why, yeah, sure, Tazuna said, who was still a bit scared. Okay team, let's meet at the West Gate in 2 hours and bring only the things that you need, said Kakashi. 4 hours at Konoha's West Gate. Right now Sasuke and Sakura were waiting for Kakashi and Naruto for over 2 hours. Where the hell are they? Sakura shouted angrily. Why do I always get stuck alone with her? Sasuke thought in despair. But just then Kakashi appeared with Tazuna. Yo, Kakashi said simply. Where the hell have you been for 2 hours? Sakura shouted angrily. Well, you see, I got lost on the path of life, Kakashi said with a lame excuse. Bullshit. Sakura shouted angrily. Kakashi then noticed that Sasuke now had a brown leather harness which ran across his chest and fastened over both his shoulders with a tanto strapped to the right side of the back of his shoulder. It's just like what Shisui had. I didn't know you knew how to use a tanto, Sasuke, said Kakashi. I decided to learn how to use it to get my revenge, as this tanto once belonged to my cousin Shisui Uchiha, said Sasuke. In this story lore, Sasuke's grandfather was Kagami Uchiha, who was the father of Fugaku, and Akarui Uchiha, who was the mother of Shisui Uchiha. Anyway, where's Naruto? Kakashi asks. He hasn't shown up yet, Sasuke said, and once again he was jealous of Naruto for not having to stand around waiting. However, just as Sakura said that, Naruto appeared right in front of everyone. Is it time to leave? Naruto asks simply. Yeah, 2 hours ago. Where the hell have you been? Sakura shouted angrily. Around, and besides, I have already told you twice that Kakashi is always late by 2 hours for missions, said Naruto. Anyways, is everyone ready, because it's going to take us a couple of days to get to the Land of Waves, said Kakashi. Wait. Sakura shouted. Yes, what is Sakura? Kakashi asked. Naruto doesn't have anything with him for the mission, said Sakura. What's the point of carry things while I can just seal them into a scroll? Naruto said. He pull out a scroll. He knows how to seal things. Sure, the storage scrolls are easiest to learn, but still, who taught him how to do that, thought Kakashi. Then seal both my and Sasuke-kun's bags in there as well, said Sakura. No, Naruto said simply. Why not? Sakura shouted angrily. Because it isn't my fault that you don't know how to seal things yourself, said Naruto. Kakashi-sensei makes Naruto seal our things as well, said Sakura. I will not, because he has a point storage scroll that is useful in our line of work, so you two really should learn how to do it yourselves as well, but until then you will have to carry your things the old-fashioned way, said Kakashi. After that, all of Team 7 and Tazuna left the village and made their way to the Land of Waves, and as they walked, Sakura decided that it was a perfect time to ask Tazuna a couple of questions about his homeland. So Tazuna, why didn't you hire any shinobi from the land of waves? Said Sakura. Sakura, not every nation has a shinobi village, said Kakashi. How come Kakashi-sensei? Sakura asked curiously. Many nations can't afford the funding for a shinobi village as it is costly, said Kakashi. Oh, I see, said Sakura. However, in the land of iron, instead of having shinobi they have samurais, said Kakashi. Samurais, said Sasuke. Masters of Kenjutsu and the ones from the land of iron, said Kakashi. Interesting, thought Sasuke. As they continued their way they saw a puddle in the middle of the road, which was strange because it hasn't rained for a couple days, and as they passed it only Naruto and Kakashi knew the truth while Tazuna, Sasuke and Sakura didn't have a quote. Suddenly metal chains appeared wrap around Kakashi and then two men appear with large clawed gauntlet which had one end of the chains around Kakashi attached to it. One had the gauntlet of his right hand whilst the other had it on his left hand. Both of them had shoulder-length wild dark brown hair and dark eyes. He wore a rebreather that covered the lower half of his face like Kakashi with his mask, a camouflage suit with bandages around his waists, dark-colored knee-length sandals and a ragged black cape, and around his forehead he had the Kurigakure headband, however one had a single horn on it whilst the other had two horns on his. Then both men pulled on the chains which tear Kakashi in pieces. Aarrrrrrr. Sakura screams in horror. One down, four to go, said the one with only one horn. This is going to be easy, brother, said the one with two horns. Then both men change at Sasuke and Sakura, who were standing next to Tazuna and were going to cut him with claws on their gauntlet which had poison on them. However, before they could, Naruto threw a kunai in the middle of the chains which stopped them in their tracks. Nice move, kid, said the one with only one horn. But is no way enough to stop us, said the one with two horns. Both men then press a hidden button within their gauntlets that detach the chain, freeing them from Naruto's kunai. However, as one of them continues to go at Tazuna while the other brother went at Naruto. You're dead, kid, said the one with two horns. No, I'm not, Naruto said as he used his superior speed and reflexes to jump above the man, and then with his sword Naruto pierced through the man's right shoulder. Aarrrrrrr. The man screamed in pain. Brother. The other man shouted with concern for his brother. You really shouldn't look away from an enemy, you know, said a voice behind him, and as the man quickly turned his head he saw the man that he and his brother had just killed, who then knocked him out cold. Kakashi-sensei, you're alive, but how? Sakura said with relief. I use the replacement technique to allow them to think they will kill me, said Kakashi. Isn't that a bit dangerous? Said Tazuna. I did it to see who they were aiming for, said Kakashi. Look at Tazuna seriously. What do you mean? Tazuna asks nervously. They were after you, Tazuna, to explain why. Kakashi asked curiously. Fine, you got me, these men were hired to kill me by Gato, said Tazuna. Wait, Gato for Gato Shipping Company, why would he do that? Kakashi asked curiously. Because he has taken over my whole village by force, said Tazuna. How did he do that, Tazuna-san? Sakura asked curiously. My village only has one way of getting anything, that is through shipping, and Gato knew this, so he took out any competition, raised the price, and had hired an army of bandits and thugs so that if anybody tries anything against Gato they would be killed by them, Tazuna explained. But why would he send men after you? Kakashi asked curiously. Because I'm trying to build a bridge which will connect us to the mainland, said Tazuna. Which will end Gato's rule over your village, said Kakashi. Yes, exactly, that's why he wants me dead, because without me the bridge will never be finished, said Tazuna. Tazuna then went on his hands and feet in front of Team 7. I beg you, please continue the mission, Tazuna begged. You pay for AC rank mission, meaning that we will fight off bandits and thugs. Yeah, sure, but after these two it's obvious that Gato has hired Shinobi, which will make this a ranked mission, but I think you knew that, said Kakashi. That was all the money we could muster up, but if you complete the mission we will pay you in full, said Tazuna. I don't know, Kakashi said because he did want to help Tazuna but it would mean putting his genin in danger. Kakashi-sensei, I believe we should continue on with the mission, said Naruto. Naruto, this is serious, we can just rush ahead, said Kakashi. That's not what I'm saying. We take our time and plan ahead, and also you are missing one important thing that we can achieve for the village if we succeed in this mission, said Naruto. And what's that? Kakashi asked curiously. We can create a trade route for our land with the land of waves, said Naruto. Naruto then looked at Tazuna, who nodded his head agreeing with Naruto's idea. That's true. Creating another trade route will be great for the village and the land of fire, thought Kakashi. What do you two think? Kakashi asked his other two students. I say we continue on, said Sasuke. This may be a good opportunity to test my strength, thought Sasuke. Yeah, we got to finish this mission, said Sakura. I can't let Sasuke-kun down, thought Sakura. Okay Tazuna, we will continue the mission, said Kakashi. Thank you so much, said Tazuna. As they continued their way to Land of Waves, they had to stop and had to hire a rowboat to get there, and as they got closer they saw something huge within the mist. What's that? Sakura asks. Well, that people are, said Tazuna. As they got closer it revealed a massive unfinished bridge. My bridge, said Tazuna. Wow, it's huge, said Sakura. Well yeah, it has to be, said Tazuna. Because of how many people will be using it, said Naruto. Yes, exactly, said Tazuna. The rower then informed them that he couldn't take them all the way because Gato's men may spot them, and as they finally reached land Naruto sensed something in a brush, so he threw a kunai at it, but then a pure white rabbit ran out from the brush scared. Naruto. You massive idiot, you almost hurt that poor bunny rabbit. Sakura shouted angrily. No, there was something there a moment again, I know it, thought Naruto. Wait, that rabbit's fur is white, it doesn't belong in this land, thought Kakashi. Suddenly Kakashi sensed something headed straight for them. Everyone, get down, Kakashi shouted. As they all ducked in time, a large blade flew past them and was embedded in a tree, and then a man appeared standing on it. The man was tall and noticeably muscular build with pale skin. He had black hair and brown eyes. He had bandages around the lower half of his face and his forehead protector was sideways. He was shirtless but had a belt going across his chest and wore baggy pants and mimetic wrists warmer extending up to his elbows with matching legs warmer. That sword, it's the executioner blade, one of the 7 swords of the mist. So it's you, Zabuza Momochi, the demon of the mist, said Kakashi. I'm flattered that Kakashi Hatake, the copycat ninja, knows who I am, said Zabuza. So Gato has even hired you as well, asked Kakashi. Yeah, so why don't you choose the easy way out and just hand over the bridge builder, said Zabuza. I can't do that, Zabuza, said Kakashi. Well, in that case, said Zabuza. Zabuza then ripped his blade from the tree and jumped onto the lake and was standing on it. It's the hard way then, said Zabuza. Stay back and guard Tazuna while I'll handle Zabuza, said Kakashi. But how will you handle me if you can't even see me? Zabuza said as he began doing a couple of hand signs. Hidden mist, just you, Zabuza said before a thick mist appeared which covered everything, making it impossible to see anything, and Zabuza disappeared within the mist. He's going to do the silent killing technique, it's his village's specialty, thought Kakashi. Suddenly Zabuza appeared in the middle of Tazuna, Naruto, Sasuke and Sakura and was about to cut them in half with his executioner blade, however as he was stopped by Naruto, who blocked it with his sword. Oh, impressive, a mere genin managed to block my attack so well, Zabuza said before disappearing in the mist again. I have no choice, I have to use it, said Kakashi. Kakashi then lifted up his headband to reveal his other eye, which was red with 3 tomo in it. Are you famous, the Sharingan eye? Zabuza said within the mist. So Naruto wasn't lying, he actually does possess the Sharingan, but how did he obtain it, thought Sasuke. The Sharingan. What's that? Sakura asked curiously. The Sharingan is the legendary bloodline of my clan the Uchiha, which allows us to see their opponents' movements and copy them, as well as cast powerful genjutsu over them just by looking into our eyes, Sasuke said with pride. Wow, that's amazing, Sakura said amazed. But suddenly everyone felt a overwhelming sense of killer instinct coming from within the mist. 8. Which should I choose, the liver, lungs, spine, heart, kidneys, throat, larynx, subclavian artery, and the last the brain, said Zabuza within the mist. He's using his killer instinct to try and intimidate us, thought Kakashi. It's a good thing that Kurama helped train me to be able to withstand killing instinct, thought Naruto. Sakura was so scared of Zabuza's killer instinct she couldn't even move an inch. Why are I shaking him so much? Sasuke thought as he looked down at his hand, which was shaking. I got to make it go away, Sasuke thought as he lifted one of his kunais closer to his throat, but he stopped when he heard Kakashi's voice. Sasuke, calm down. I promise you that I wouldn't allow any of you get hurt, okay? Kakashi said, hoping to calm Sasuke's nervous, which it did. I wouldn't make promises that you can't keep, Kakashi, Zabuza said as he appeared behind him and was ready to attack. However, Kakashi quickly brought a kunai and sliced Zabuza's throat just in time, but instead of blood there was water. Then Zabuza's whole body turned into a puddle of water. A water clone, then that means. Kakashi thought as he turned his head just to see Zabuza, who then cut Kakashi in half. However, just like Zabuza, both halves of Kakashi turned into puddles of water. He made a water clone just like I did, damn it, that copycat shit, thought Zabuza. This over Zabuza, Kakashi said as he held a kunai against Zabuza's throat. I don't think so, Zabuza said as he then turned in another puddle of water. Another water clone, thought Kakashi. Zabuza then appeared behind Kakashi and kicked him in the back. However, Kakashi managed to turn around and block it, but the force from it sent him flying into the lake. As Kakashi tried to channel his chakra so he will be able to stand on the water, he felt something wrong with the water, like it was heavier, and that was when Kakashi realized why, but it was too late because Zabuza was standing over him. Water prison jutsu, Zabuza said as he held his left hand out and the water around Kakashi formed into a ball, trapping both Kakashi and Zabuza's left hand. Damn it, I fell right into his trap, thought Kakashi. Haha, I can't believe you fell for it, said Zabuza. Oh no, he captured Kakashi-sensei, Sakura said, worry for her sensei. Just great, Sasuke said, annoyed and a bit worried. This is really bad, said Tazuna. However, unlike everyone else's reaction, Naruto's was different. So be it, Naruto said as he walked towards Zabuza and Kakashi with his in hand. I may have to reveal more of my skill, thought Naruto. Oh, so you think you can save your sensei, do ya? Said Zabuza. Naruto. You got chance against someone like him, said Kakashi. Yeah, you better listen to your sensei or else, said Zabuza. However, just kept walking towards them, and when he reached the water, Naruto then started to channel chakra, though his feet like Zabuza is doing, to allow him to walk on the water. He knows the water surface walking practice, so he taught Naruto that as well, Kakashi thought curiously. I don't have time to waste on a mere genin like you, Zabuza said as he did a hand sign with his free hand. Water clone jutsu, Zabuza said, and then suddenly the water in front of Zabuza rose and formed into another Zabuza. Deal with him, said the real Zabuza. The water clone then drew out its own executioner blade and changed at Naruto, and everyone thought it was the end for the blonde hair leaf genin, but in a blink of an eye it was over. Naruto was a bit closer to real Zabuza while the water clone was now headless before it turned back into water. Everyone just stood where they were in shock. What the, said Sakura. No way, said Sasuke. How did he do that, said Tazuna. Where did he learn to do something like that, thought Kakashi. Impressive kid, I didn't expect something like that, said Zabuza. Or this, Naruto said as he channeled one of his chakra mold though his left hand as it wasn't holding his sword, and then as he lift his hand up a gold chain that was made out of Naruto's chakra shot out from his. What is that? Said Sakura. What are those things? Sasuke thought curiously. Those are the same chains that Kushina had. So he possesses the same as his mother, Kakashi thought in shock. Naruto chains headed straight for Zabuza's left wrist, and as he saw them coming, Zabuza knew that he didn't have a choice but to release his water prison. However, as he did, Naruto's chains did manage to cut Zabuza's left palm, and when Kakashi saw this he was shocked again. Wait, Kushina's chains could do physical harm, only suppress someone's chakra or be used in sealing, so how come Naruto's chains can? Kakashi thought as he made his way back to the other. Kakashi-sensei. Are you alright? Sakura shouted, concern for her sensei. No, using the Sharingan uses a lot of chakra, and with the water prison jutsu, which weakens the person who is captured by it, I'm going to need a minute, said Kakashi. But will Naruto be able to hold out that long? Sakura asked, concern for her teammate. I hope so, said Kakashi. But after doing the bell test and now seeing it shows that Naruto has more up his sleeves, and I have faith that he will be okay, thought Kakashi. Damn it. What the hell are those things, thought Zabuza. The chakra chain then retreated back into Naruto's palm. Interesting trick you got there, kid, said Zabuza. Naruto didn't say anything, instead he just disappear in a burst of speed, and then he reappear straight in front of Zabuza and began to attack Zabuza with his sword. However, Zabuza did manage to block them with his executioner blade thanks to all of his experienced swordsmanship. He's actually pretty good with Kenjutsu, Zabuza thought while actually being impressed. As Naruto and Zabuza battle in Kenjutsu, shocking both Sasuke and Sakura. However, just then Zabuza kicked the water to splash Naruto, making him back up for a second, which allows Zabuza to begin his attacks on his, but because of Naruto's speed and Sharingan, Zabuza couldn't land any hits on Naruto until he managed to kick Naruto's sword out of his hands when Naruto tried to attack Zabuza from behind, but Zabuza did a back kick which disarmed Naruto. Then he swung his executioner blade down upon Naruto but was blocked by something else. Naruto had channeled his chakra mold and had created almost identical executioner blade, but it was a gold glowing malleable chakra version of the executioner blade. It's like a gold version of Kinshiki Otsutsuki tool creation technique. What is that? Sasuke asked curiously. That's not possible, Kakashi said in shock. What's not possible, Kakashi-sensei? Sakura asked curiously. It's the thing that Naruto has just created, it's the same as the chain, said Kakashi. How can Naruto create other things while Kushina couldn't? Thought Kakashi curiously. Damn it, kid, another trick, said Zabuza. A true shinobi should have more than just one trick, said Naruto. True enough, said Zabuza. Then Zabuza and Naruto both jump away from each other, and Zabuza saw that Naruto wasn't having any difficulty holding his version of the executioner blade at all, which was strange because for someone to be able to lift the executioner blade they need to be strong, and the reason why Naruto wasn't having difficulty was simple, because the blade was made from his unique Uzumaki chakra, meaning every weapon he can make from it will weigh nothing to him, but to anybody else it will be like the real thing. But suddenly two kunais came flying at Zabuza, who managed to block them with ease. Then Kakashi appeared standing next to Naruto. Naruto, I'll handle this, so go back to the others, said Kakashi. No, Kakashi-sensei, said Naruto. What? Why? Asked Kakashi. Because you still haven't fully recovered yet and you might get recapture, said Naruto. Fine, but just be careful, said Kakashi. Enough of this, Zabuza said before he began doing hand signs. Kakashi saw this with and began doing exactly the same hand signs as Zabuza thanks to his Sharingan eye. Water style. Water dragon jutsu, Zabuza said as a dragon made out of water rose from the lake behind him. Water style. Water dragon jutsu, Kakashi said as a dragon made out of water rose from the lake behind him. Then both water dragons change and clash against each other, causing a large splash of water. He was able to copy and perform my jutsu, Zabuza thought. Zabuza then saw Naruto doing a couple of hand signs which he recognized. Water style. Water tidal waves, Naruto said as he unleashed large water tidal waves towards Zabuza. He already has 4 chakra natures, Kakashi thought surprised. What the hell? Is he really just a genin? Zabuza thought in shock. As Naruto's water jutsu slammed into Zabuza, which then sent him into a tree, but Zabuza did manage to pick himself up until a couple Senbon came flying out of nowhere and hit his neck, dropping him. Then in a tree above Zabuza appeared a person wear a standard Kurigakure pinstripes outfit which stop at his knees within green haori with white trimming over it and around his waist a brown slash as well as sandals with an Anbu black ops mask with the symbol of the hidden mist village on it which hid his face completely. Thank you for dealing with Zabuza. I have been tracking him for a while now. The masked man said before he disappeared and then reappeared next to Zabuza. Kakashi-sensei. Who is that? Sakura asked curiously. That Sakura is a hunter nin, said Kakashi. A hunter nin? Sakura asked curiously. They specialize in tracking rogue shinobi from their village, said Kakashi. But his voice sounds only a bit older than these 3, thought Kakashi. I will be taking my leave, the masked man said before disappearing. Okay, let's continue on out, Missy. Before Kakashi could finish, he passed out of the floor. Kakashi-sensei. His 3 genin shouted concern for their sensei. In the land of waves and inside Tazuna's home within one of its rooms was Kakashi resting up after his fight against Zabuza, as after Kakashi had passed out Tazuna offered to carry him so that the remaining members of Team 7 could protect him properly, and once they got to Tazuna's house they lay him down to rest. As Tazuna's daughter Tsunami was walking up the stairs, she heard a noise coming from the room where they put Kakashi in, and as she opened the door she saw that Kakashi was starting to wake up, so she quickly went back downstairs to inform everyone, who then all went upstairs to see Kakashi. Where am I? Kakashi asked as he rubbed his eyes. Kakashi-sensei. You're finally awake. Sakura shouted happily. What happened? Kakashi asked curiously. Well, after your fight with Zabuza we took you straight to Tazuna's house to recover, said Sakura. I see. How long have I been out? Kakashi asked curiously. Just a day, said Sasuke. So are you alright now, Kakashi? Asked Tazuna. Yeah, it's a side effect of using the Sharingan, said Kakashi. Side effects. Sasuke is confused as he never heard of a side effect using the Sharingan like that. Well, you see, I'm not actually from the Uchiha clan like you, Sasuke, so I didn't get the Sharingan naturally, and because I'm not a Uchiha it puts a lot of stress on my body from using it, Kakashi explained. If it does that much damage to you, Kakashi-sensei, then why do you use it then? Sakura asked curiously. Because during my career as a shinobi, I have faced strong opponents, so I had no choice but to use it, said Kakashi. I have questions for you, Kakashi-sensei, said Sasuke. What is it, Sasuke? Kakashi asked while he already had a good idea of what it was. How exactly did you get my clan's bloodline in the first place? Sasuke asked curiously. For my former teammate Obito Uchiha, said Kakashi. Obito Uchiha. That's my mother's younger brother's name. Sasuke said in shock. Yes, Sasuke, as I was a teammate and friend to your uncle, said Kakashi. I know that Obito wasn't Makoto Uchiha's younger brother, but I thought it would be interesting. Then how did you get it then? Sasuke asked curiously. I wouldn't go into much detail about it, but during the Third Great Ninja War, where my teammates and I were sent on a mission to Kana Bridge, and events happened there which caused me to lose my original left eye and got this scar, but worst of all, Obito died saving my life but not before giving me his left eye, Kakashi said sadly. I think we talked about something more recently, said Naruto. Like what Naruto? Kakashi asked curiously. At the fact that Zabuza is still alive and will be coming here to finish the job, Naruto said, shocking everyone except for Kakashi. Don't make up lies like that, Naruto. Sakura shouted angrily. Sakura, Naruto isn't lying, said Kakashi. What do you mean, Kakashi sensie? Sakura shouted. I mean exactly what Naruto just said. Zabuza is still alive, said Kakashi. How is that possible, Kakashi-sensei? Sakura shouted while Sasuke didn't say anything, but he still wanted to know. Because of what the Hunter Nin used and what he didn't use, said Kakashi. What do you mean, Kakashi-sensei? Sakura asked curiously. I mean, as the tool he used was Senbon instead of kunais or shurikens, which would be the obvious to take someone down, and then he just took the body. Normally a Hunter Nin would just dispose of the body and obviously take the executioner blade because it belongs to Kurigakure, said Kakashi. Don't you think you're overthinking about this, said Tazuna. Tazuna, it is our job to be prepared for anything, said Kakashi. So what do you think we should do then, Kakashi-sensei? Naruto asked curiously. We should train for the worst, said Kakashi. Train. Both Sasuke and Sakura said at the same time. Yes, to get you two prepared for an upcoming battle, said Kakashi. Two, but there are three of us, Kakashi-sensei, said Sakura. Yes, you and Sasuke need to get stronger if you are able to help Naruto and I in the next fight against Zabuza and that fake Hunter Nin, said Kakashi. What's that supposed to mean? Are you saying that I'm far weaker than him? Sasuke said angrily, pointing at Naruto. Yes, because during the fight against Zabuza it was Naruto who kept him busy while I was recovering, said Kakashi. Yeah, about that. Hey Naruto, what were those techniques that you use? Sakura asked curiously while Sasuke was eager to know as well. That's none of your business, Naruto said firmly. What do you mean it's none of our business? We're your teammates, ain't we? Sakura shouted angrily. Point at Sakura, you're just being nosy. Point at Sasuke, he just wants to know if he could learn it. Point at Kakashi, but Kakashi-sensei here already knows all about it, said Naruto. In that case, Kakashi-sensei, can you tell us about Naruto's weapon creating technique? Sakura asked, thinking that she found a loophole. However, Kakashi looked at Naruto, who was giving a glance which basically means, don't you even dare. Sorry, I'm not at liberty to say anything, said Kakashi. Why not? Sakura whines. By the Hokage orders, Kakashi said, lying. Kakashi then turns to look at Tazuna. Now then, Tazuna, do you know any place where I can train these two? Said Kakashi. There is a forest nearby. You can use it for training if you want, said Tazuna. Okay then, thank you Naruto. Can you stay with Tazuna and his family to guard them if anything happens? Said Kakashi as he picked himself up but was still feeling weak. Wait right there, I got something that might help a bit, said Tazuna before he left the room. When Tazuna returned, he was holding crutches. Okay, we are off, and Naruto, if anything happens, use the flare to signal us, said Kakashi before leaving with Sasuke and Sakura. Half hour later. Okay everyone, let's get to work and finish this bridge for our families, Tazuna said to his men. This bridge is massive and I have to protect all of these workers, Naruto thought before doing a couple of hand signs. Shadow Clone Jutsu, Naruto said, and in a proof of smoke 30 Narutos appeared who then all scatter and hide around the bridge, then they each place a seal on where they were, and as for the real Naruto, he left the bridge and went into the forest. Each of my clones possess the same high sensor skill as me, so they will be able to know if any enemies are coming, and as they place the Hiraishin seal where they are, I will be able to get there in a second, thought Naruto. As Naruto continued to walk through the forest, he then decided to use his sensor ability to find any other shinobi in the area and to make sure that he doesn't run into Kakashi, Sasuke and Sakura because Kakashi would get angrily at him for leaving Tazuna and then he would most likely ask how we'll be able to get back to the bridge fast enough if something did happen there which Naruto doesn't want to reveal that he knows the Flying Thunder God technique just yet. Kakashi-sensei and the others are a bit to the east but I can't seem to find anybody else maybe Gato has barrier jutsu around his secret base perhaps. Naruto thought before he bit one of his fingers which drew blood then he wiped it on his right palm then he did a couple of hand signs and slammed his right hand down to the ground. Summoning jutsu, Naruto said as a seal appeared on the ground around his right hand and in a proof of smoke an orange fox that had a headband similar to Naruto's but instead of having the Konoha symbol it had the Uzumaki Clan. Hey Naruto, said the fox. Hi Shingo, I need your help, said Naruto. Sure, what do you need? Said Shingo. I can't seem to find a certain base which I know will have people who are able to use chakra should be weak but still I should be able to sense them and I know there isn't anything wrong with my senses because I can still sense my teammates, said Naruto. Any ideas what I should smell for, said Shingo. Try smelling something like alcohol or even drugs, said Naruto. Yeah I smell a whole lot of it, said Shingo. Okay. Led me towards Shingo, said Naruto. Flashback. A 7-year-old Naruto was currently at the Uzumaki Clan compound library researching on any way that could help him get stronger until he came across a rather interesting method on gaining a summoning contract, that was discovered by Jiraiya of the Sannin also known as the Toad Sage of Konohagakure and he was also Minato's sensei and Naruto's godfather. Jiraiya had discovered it back during his early years when he was still a student of the third Hokage which was just to perform the summoning jutsu without having a contact with any summon clans which will then transport you to a summon region that you have a strong spiritual affectation towards that summon type. So as Naruto performed the summon jutsu without having a summon contract he got himself teleported to a very large mountain forest that had trees that were far bigger than other trees that Naruto had ever seen before. Where am I? Naruto asked himself as he looked around until he saw a red fox which was the size of one of the Inuzuka clan ninja hounds. Who are you human? The fox asked curiously. A taking fox, Naruto said not too shocking about a taking fox after all knowing Kurama. You don't seem surprised about me talking. The fox asked curiously. Well I kind of already know a fox, said Naruto. Really who? The fox asked curiously. I don't think you would know him, said Naruto. Try me, said the fox. His name is Kurama, said Naruto. Kurama yeah I don't know him anyways who are you, said the fox. My name is Naruto Uzumaki, who are you and where am I? Said Naruto. Well my name is Minos and you're at Kitsunden Forest but how did you get here Naruto? Minos asked curiously. I performed the summoning technique without having a contract which brought me here, said Naruto. Really well in that case you better come with me to see Lady Konkan, said Minos. Who's Lady Konkan? Naruto asks. She's the head fox of Kitsunden Forest, said Minos. Well let's go and see her then, said Naruto. Naruto then follow Minos up the mountain and along their way up Naruto saw other foxes that had blue and green fur coats and some of them were even far larger than Minos however as Naruto and Minos finally reached the top they then entered a temple and inside Naruto saw a golden fox who was the same size as Kurama laying down on something that looks like a throne which also had lots of pillows around it to make it more comfortable. Lady Konkan, I brought you someone to meet, said Minos. Oh who is Minos? Konkan asked curiously. This boy's name is Naruto Uzumaki and he said that he got here by doing the summoning technique without having a contract with any summon clans, said Minos. Interesting, thought Konkan. So you came here through the use of summoning technique, said Konkan. Yes, that is how it happened, said Naruto. May I ask why you did the summoning technique in the first place? Konkan asked curiously. I had read a book in my clan's compound library and I found out that man from my village called Jiraiya and he did the same thing that I have done, perform the summoning technique without having a contract, but he was transported to Mount Myoboku where the toads live, and for the reason why I did it is because want to get stronger, said Naruto. For someone so young and already desires power, why is that if I may ask? Konkin asked curiously. Because I don't want anyone to ever treat me wrong again, said Naruto. Who has treated you so wrongly, young Naruto? Konkin asked curiously. Almost every single person in my village, said Naruto. Why would they do that? Konkin asked curiously. Because they think I'm a Bijuu instead of a human being, said Naruto. So you're Jinchuriki then, and may I ask which Bijuu do you hold inside of you? Said Konkin. I have a nine-tailed fox inside of me, but his name is Kurama, said Naruto. Kurama. How do you know his name is Kurama? Konkin asked curiously. He told himself we are friends, said Naruto happily. Are you friends with him? Konkin was surprised. Yeah, Kurama has been helping me in my training as well, said Naruto. Naruto, I have a very important question to ask you. Konkin asked curiously. Sure, what is it? Naruto asked curiously. Seeing that you have an affection towards foxes and that you have befriended a Bijuu, how would you like to become our very first summoner? Konkin asked curiously. Sure I will, but why me? Naruto asked curiously. Well, many of the foxes here want to see the human world, and because we never had a summoner, I think it is about time to do so, said Konkin. Okay, then I will gladly become your summoner, said Naruto. Excellent, said Konkin. Then she used her tail to pick up a scroll that was behind her and place it down in front of Naruto. Now just bite one of your fingers and with the blood from it write down your name in the scroll, which will make the contract between you and us, Naruto, said Konkin. Naruto did exactly that. He bite one of his fingers and drew blood from it. Then he used it to write down his name on the scroll. And there, said Naruto as he finished. Excellent, now you are our summoner Naruto Uzumaki, said Konkin. Great, I hope that we'll work well with each other, said Naruto. The current time. Sometime later at Gato's secret base. As Naruto follows Shingo deeper into the forest, they finally found what they were looking for, Gato's hidden headquarters. As Naruto looked at it, he saw that it wasn't a tall building, but he guessed Gato had built it underground inside, and this part was just the entrance. But the thing that still caught his attention was that ever though he can see the base, he still couldn't sense anyone from it. Minnows, let's do that just before we go in, said Naruto. Right, said Minnows. Ninja art. Beast sense connection, said Naruto. Ninja art. Human sense connection, said Minnows. The technique allow the summoner and the summoned to connect their senses with each other. In other words, for a summon like a fox who are great at hiding, they could watch events without being detected, while the summoner will be able to watch it as well, and also allow the summoner to speak with the summon though their thought. Alright, let's go, said Naruto. Just before they entered Gato's base, Naruto placed a Hiraishin seal on a tree for a quick escape. Then they split up, with Minnows turning invisible, and went down one hallway while Naruto went the other way and used his chakra to walk on the walls. With Minnows inside a room. As Minnows walk around, he suddenly smell fruit coming from a room, and as he walked in and hid in the shadows just in case, he saw a man resting on a bed, while the boy that saved Zabuza's life and wasn't wearing a mask so anyone could see that he had brown eyes, and that he was sitting down next to Zabuza peeling apples, until a small man who was wearing a business suit on and had sunglasses on with two other men that had swords strapped on them. Zabuza. I have heard from my men that Tazuna is still alive. Why is that? The small man said angrily. I underestimate the shinobi that Tazuna has hired, Gato, said Zabuza. When I hired you, I expected results of you being the demon of the mist, after all, said Gato. Don't worry about it, I got a plan, you see, said Zabuza. Oh, what is it? Said Gato. Simple really, we let them get close to finish the bridge, but then Haku and I come in and kill the Konoha ninjas and Tazuna, then we destroy the bridge, which will destroy any remaining hope that these people have left, said Zabuza. Yes, that would work perfectly, however there is one more thing, said Gato. What is it? Zabuza asked curiously. If you fail me again, then neither you or your assistants will leave this land alive, said Gato as he reached out to grab Zabuza's face. But as he did, the boy that was sitting next to Zabuza quickly grabbed Gato's wrist and broke it. Air. Gato screams in pain. Don't you lay a finger on Zabuza-san, said the boy. Gato's bodyguards both went to grab their swords, but Gato used his other hand to tell not to, and then he went towards the door. Just make sure everything goes according to plan, Zabuza, or else, Gato said before he left the room. With Naruto at Gato's vault. As Naruto continued to go down in Gato's base, he finally found Gato's vault where he kept everything that he has taken from the villagers and other things. However, it was guarded by 8 men and was locked, with the only way to get in was with a unique key that no doubt that Gato kept on him all time. So Naruto quickly perform a sound barrier seal, then he knock each guard as fast as possible. After he tie them up, Naruto then place his hand over keyhole and channel his chakra mold though it to find out what shape the key was, and once he found out, he then create an identical copy of it and open the vault. As he walked around in the vault, he saw books, paintings, statues, bags of money, and then Naruto saw in the middle of the room a glowing green crystal orb that had red seals on it. This is it, Naruto said as he looked at the orb. These seals are similar to the one at the compound, but there are a couple of differences. This is probably the thing which prevented me from sensing anyone here before, but if that is the case, where did Gato get it? Maybe a shinobi he had hired informed him about it and he decided to use it, so if anyone sends any assassins after him, they wouldn't be able to find his base, thought Naruto. Just then Naruto heard the door for the vault open, so he teleported out of Gato's base, but he decided that he would return later to take all of Gato's books, paintings, statues and money, while also returning everything that Gato and his men took from the villagers. As Naruto appeared outside, retrieve the memories from one of his shadow clones at the bridge, telling him that Kakashi was on his way to them, so Naruto teleported to where the clone that had dispersed just was. At the bridge. As Naruto arrived at the bridge a few minutes later, Kakashi arrived but was alone. Naruto then came out of his hiding spot. Where are the other two? Naruto asks. Still there in the forest, said Kakashi. How's their training coming along? Naruto asks. Well, Sakura managed to understand the tree climbing practice and did it perfectly, while Sasuke is having a bit of trouble with it, so he's trying to get it, and I ordered Sakura to keep doing it to improve her chakra amount, said Kakashi. So why did you come here then, Kakashi? Tazuna asked. Well, I came to see how things coming along, said Kakashi. We haven't had any trouble whatsoever, which is kind of making me worrying, said Tazuna. I don't think they will be coming here soon, said Naruto. Why's that, Naruto? Kakashi asks curiously. I think they intend to destroy the bridge just before you finish it, said Naruto. Why would they do that when they could just destroy it now? Tazuna asked curiously. Because I believe Gato wants to destroy any remaining hope you have left, said Naruto. How do you know that, Naruto? Kakashi asks curiously. Think about it, it's the best way to stop all attempts of rebellion against him in the future, said Naruto. I see your point, it would be better for him in that way, Naruto, said Kakashi. Okay, you three, while I'm guarding Tazuna, Naruto will remain here to supervise over your training, said Kakashi. What? No way, Kakashi-sensei. Why should we listen to him? Sasuke-kun should be in change. Sakura shouted angrily. He said supervising is not in change, do you ever listen? Naruto said, annoyed. Now Sakura, the reason why I'm having Naruto supervising you is because he already knows the tree climbing practice, said Kakashi. Prove it, said Sasuke. Remember back during the fight against Zabuza when I was trapped in his water prison jutsu, Naruto walked towards us across the water's surface. That was the water surface walking practice, which is a more advanced than the tree climbing practice, meaning he would also know that as well, Kakashi explained. Maybe that's why he possesses such a good control of his chakra despite him having such a large amount because he's been using them to help him to get a better control over his chakra. Kakashi thought curiously. So who was it that taught you Naruto? Sasuke asks curiously while Sakura looks at them also wanting to know. Is he actually going to tell them? Kakashi thought curiously as he watched his genin sign. His name is Kosuke Maruboshi, said Naruto. Kosuke Maruboshi. Who's that? Sasuke asked curiously. Kosuke Maruboshi is a shinobi back at the Leaf and is reputed as the eternal genin while being around the same age as the Hokage, Naruto explained, shocking both Sasuke and Sakura. He's that old but still a genin. Why would you want training from someone like him? Sakura asks in a mocking tone, however she quickly went quiet when she saw the looks she was getting from both Naruto and Kakashi. Sakura, do not underestimate Kosuke Maruboshi. Kakashi said in a serious tone. Why is that Kakashi-sensei? Sasuke asked curiously. Years ago back during the time of the second Hokage Tobirama Senju, Kosuke in a hurry to be promoted to the rank of Chunin he made a reckless decision which cost him the lives of his two teammates. Kosuke was so ashamed of this, he felt he was not worthy of being promoted beyond the rank of genin. However, despite this, he continued to train arduously to improve his skills, something that was insisted upon him by the second Hokage, Naruto explained. So even though he's still a genin, that doesn't mean that he's weak, said Kakashi. Why did you go to him to train Naruto? Sakura asked curiously. Why wouldn't I want training from him? We're speaking about a man who has been around as long as the third Hokage and was also taught by the second Hokage, said Naruto. He has a point. Someone who has been around that long would definitely knows him, and especially if they have been trained by the second Hokage, who even though isn't my favorite Hokage since he was the one who killed my great-great-grandfather Izuna Uchiha back during the clan wars, I will admit that he was a great shinobi as he has created many powerful and useful jutsus, thought Sasuke. That's right, Sasuke is a descendant of Izuna Uchiha, the younger brother of Madara Uchiha. I thought that since everyone says that Sasuke looks a lot like him, why not make him his descendant? I'm guessing that the Hokage told you that I've been trained by Kosuke. Naruto asks Kakashi. Yes, he told after he assigned all the new teams together, said Kakashi. Yeah, when I started training under him, Kosuke told me that he told the Hokage, said Naruto. Sometime later, after Kakashi had left, Sasuke and Sakura began doing their training, with Sasuke trying to climb a tree with his chakra but was failing while Sakura was able to it thanks to her better control over her chakra, however only because she didn't possess as much chakra as Sasuke, so she continually trained by climbing the tree using only her chakra to increase her amount, and while they were busy training Naruto was laying against a train watching, however eventually he got bored. You're doing it wrong, Naruto said looking at Sasuke. Don't you think I know that? Sasuke said angrily. There's your problem, said Naruto. My problem? What is it? Sasuke asks angrily. You ain't focused, you need to calm down. It won't work if you're angrily, Sasuke, said Naruto. Are you saying that whenever someone uses this technique they ain't angrily even during a fight? That's stupid of cause of their anger, said Sasuke. True, but unlike you they have fully mastered this technique so that even though they are angry they can still use it, Naruto explained. Fine, I'll be calm, Sasuke said before he closed his eyes and took a deep breath and then release. After a bit, when Sasuke had finally calmed down, he tried the tree climbing practice again, however this time he managed to stick to the tree for a bit before falling back down, but he managed to land on his feet. I did it, Sasuke thought, surprised. I know you could do it, Sasuke-kun, Sakura shouted happily. Keep doing that and you'll get the handle of it, plus it also improves your chakra control and increases the amount of chakra you have, Naruto explained. Can I increase the amount of chakra I have? Sasuke asks. Yep. That's the reason why Kakashi-sensei is making Sakura keep doing it, said Naruto. What's that supposed to mean? Sakura shouted angrily. It means the amount of chakra that you possess is weak, as I have more chakra in my finger than you have in your entire body, said Naruto. Naruto. Stop lying to make yourself look cool. Sakura shouted angrily. Oh, you don't believe me? Then watch this, Naruto said as he walked up to a tree. He then lifted his index finger up and channeled his chakra into it before touching the tree, and suddenly a massive crack appeared on the tree. What the hell? Sakura shouted in shock. How come you have so much chakra? Sasuke asks curiously while thinking that maybe he could do something to obtain more chakra to help him to get revenge. I was born with it and I train a lot, said Naruto. There's no need to tell them about Kurama, Naruto thought. Smart idea. I don't want another Uchiha to obsess with me, said Kurama. Later that day, after Sasuke and Sakura done their training, they went back to Tezuno's to rest while Naruto decided to go for a walk, and he was currently walking down a street where he saw many homeless people, which got him to remember back when he was 5 years old when he was kicked out of the orphanage by the old bitch that ran it, and Naruto then spent the next 2 months living in the streets before the Hokage's Anbu Black Ops found him in an alley. Hey, do you know where some empty space is around here? Naruto asks a homeless man. Yeah, I'm sure, said the homeless man. Then can you show me? If you do, I'll give you a reward, Naruto asked. Yeah, sure, why not? It's not like I got nothing better to do than sit here, said the homeless man. Hey, you lot. If you come as well, there will also be something for you as well, Naruto said to the other homeless people. Like what? One of the homeless people asked. Come along and find out, said Naruto. As the homeless man that Naruto talked with first led him and the other homeless people to some empty space, Naruto with some rubble. Probably Gato's men did this out of fun, or they were ordered to, Naruto thought. Here we are, said the homeless man. Now then for your reward, Naruto said before he started doing hand signs. Wood style. 4-pillar house jutsu, Naruto said as he slammed his hands on the ground, and then suddenly multiple fully built wooden houses burst out from the ground. What the hell? All the homeless people shouted in shock. There's your reward, a place to call home, said Naruto. How can we ever repay you? The man asks happily with tears going down his face. Don't worry about it, after all everyone deserves a home, Naruto said before he walked away. Later that day at Tezuno's house. Everyone was in Tezuno's living room except for Tsunami. She was in the kitchen making dinner for everyone while Tezuno was talking with Kakashi. Naruto was reading a book. Sasuke was resting from all of his training and was thinking of ways how's he going to hurt his older brother. Sakura daydreaming about her marrying Sasuke, and in the corner of the room was Tezuno's grandson Inari. Why are you even trying? Inari asks. Everyone stopped what they were doing and turned their heads to look at Inari. There's no point fighting against Gato. He always wins. He's just too strong. It would be better if you just leave and save yourself before he kills you too, said Inari. Hemp. Nobody is stronger than the Uchiha clan, said Sasuke. Yes, Sasuke-kun is right, said Sakura. You don't know anything about pain. We live in fear while you live in peace, said Inari. Then you really don't know anything about what Konoha is truly like, Naruto said as he got up and walked towards the door. Naruto, where are you going? Sakura asks. Fresh air, said Naruto. You really shouldn't go anywhere without backup, said Kakashi. I'll be fine, Naruto said before he left Tezuno's house. A few moments later, Indri went back to his room. I'm sorry about Indri, He hasn't been the same since his stepfather Kaiza was killed by Gato and his men, said Tazuna. If you don't mind me asking what happened? Kakashi asked. A few years ago. Before Gato arrived here at the Land of Waves, Inari fell into the ocean, but he was saved by Kaiza. Afterwards, Kaiza became a role model for Indri, and he had a saying, protecting the things you love with both arms. Kaiza eventually married Tsunami, but one day there was a flood that was going to destroy everything, and there was only one way of stopping it, by closing two large gates. However, nobody could reach them because it was on the other side of the overflowing river, but Kaiza just dived in and managed to close them, said Tazuna. Wow, he sounds like a great man, said Sakura. Yes, he was, until Gato and his men showed up, said Tazuna. What did they do? Kakashi asked. First, Gato bought out or blackmail every single shipping company here, then he started to overpriced every little thing until Kaiza tried to stop him, but Gato had his men beat Kaiza down, but then Gato had his men chop off his arms to mock Kaiza, saying, and after Gato brought Kaiza out in public to executioner him, because Gato wanted to show everyone what happens to them if they ever go against him, said Tazuna. That's terrible, Sakura said, upset. A few moments later, Sakura decided to ask her sensei a question. Kakashi sensei, what did Naruto mean that we don't know anything about what Konoha is truly like? Sakura asked curiously, while Sasuke was also curious. You may have noticed it back in the village how the villagers treat Naruto, said Kakashi. What do you mean, Kakashi? Tazuna is curious. It's not my place to say, but what I can tell you is that there's a reason why Naruto isn't the friendliest guy in the world, said Kakashi. The next at Tazuna's house. Almost everyone was in Tazuno's living room except for Indri, who was in his bedroom, and Naruto, who hasn't come back last night, but Kakashi wasn't worried about Naruto as he knew Naruto could handle himself easily against thugs or bandits, and if Naruto was fighting against a shinobi, Kakashi would have sensed it. Tazuna, I think today's the day that Zabuza will be coming, said Kakashi. Yeah, I think you're right, said Tazuna. But Kakashi-sensei, Naruto didn't come back last night? Sakura asked curiously. Yeah, you're right, Sasuke. Could you find Naruto? Said Kakashi. Why me? Sasuke asks, annoyed. I need to stay here to guard Tazuna, and you will be able to find him a lot quicker than Sakura would, said Kakashi. Fine, I will, Sasuke said as he got up and walked out through the door. With Naruto in the forest. Naruto was currently laying on the ground resting in the middle of the forest after doing his intense training last night. However, he wasn't alone, as the boy who was with Zabuza at Gato's base, Hakuhi, with long loosely black hair. Pale skin, dark brown eyes, and he was wearing a pink, sleeveless kimono with pale red edges and decorated with small plum-colored swirls that went to his ankle. Around his waist was a simple white obi tied in a bow, and he had a pair of light brown sandals with black straps and had a dark-colored choker around their neck. Haku was walking through the forest collecting herbs to increase Zabuza's healing process until he came upon a sleeping Naruto, and he immediately recognized him as one of the genin that is guarding Zabuza and his target. He's the one who gave Zabuza-san trouble. It would be best if I take him out here and now, Haku thought as he walked towards the sleeping Naruto. As Haku stood over the sleeping Naruto, he was thinking about which way he should kill him without it being painful. You know, it's creepy to stare at someone while they are sleeping, you know, Naruto said, surprising Haku. Sorry, I thought that you might have been injured, said Haku. No, I'm not, but thank you for caring a little about me anyways. Who are you? Said Naruto. My name is Haku, and you? Haku asked. Naruto of the Uzumaki Clan, said Naruto. If I may ask if you are out here? Haku asked curiously. Training, said Naruto. Training? Ain't you strong enough? Haku asked curiously. No, I'm not, because in this shinobi world you need strength to survive here. Well, that's what I believe anyways, said Naruto. I see. Well, I believe that once you find someone that is precious, you will become far stronger in order to protect them, said Haku. That's a nice way of thinking, said Naruto. Tell me Naruto, do you have someone precious to you where you come from? Haku asked curiously. In a way, but he's always with me, said Naruto. Ah, ain't that sweet, Kurama said while laughing within Naruto's head. Shut up Kurama, Naruto said while being a little embarrassed. I see then it's good you have someone, said Haku. I'm guessing that you have someone who's precious to you then. Naruto asked curiously. Yes I do and I will do anything to help him to achieve his goal, said Haku. Well that person is very lucky to have you, said Naruto. Thank you anyways, I need to take these herbs back, said Haku. As Haku started to walk away from Naruto he took a couple steps before to say one last thing. You will become stronger, I'm sure of it, said Haku. Thanks maybe next time I'll show you how strong I've become when we meet on the bridge Hunter Nin, Naruto said, shocking Haku. He knew that it was me. Thought Haku. When did you realize it was me? Haku asked curiously. The moment I saw you I could tell it was you because of your chakra signature, said Naruto. He can find an individual person by their own chakra signature so he's a powerful sensory type as well he's going to be trouble fighting against when Zabuza-san uses his hidden mist Justu, thought Haku. So why didn't you just surprise attack me then? Haku asked curiously. I could ask why didn't you attack me when you had the chance, Naruto said when he woke up because he sensed Haku a bit before he reached him. In any case I wasn't lying about needing to leave so see you on the bridge, Haku said before he walked away. Just then Sasuke was walking towards Naruto and he walked past Haku and gave him a quick glance. She's cute, Sasuke thought not knowing that Haku was actually a guy. Naruto, where have you been? Kakashi-sensei is wondering. Sasuke asked curiously. I've been here training, said Naruto. Training in what exactly? Sasuke asked curiously. Stuff, Naruto said simply. What exactly does he do to become stronger? Sasuke asked curiously. Well anyways better not keep Kakashi-sensei waiting too long, Naruto said as he got up and headed back to Tazuna's but then stopped. Oh by the way Sasuke that person just then in pink was a guy, Naruto said shocking Sasuke. Naruto, where have you been? Kakashi-sensei is wondering. Sasuke asked curiously. I've been here training, said Naruto. Training in what exactly? Sasuke asked curiously. Stuff, Naruto said simply. What exactly does he do to become stronger? Sasuke asked curiously. Well anyways better not keep Kakashi-sensei waiting too long, Naruto said as he got up and headed back to Tazuna's but then stopped. Oh by the way Sasuke that person just then in pink was a guy, Naruto said shocking Sasuke. The current time. Once Naruto and Sasuke got back to Tazuna's house Naruto went to bed while Kakashi, Sakura, Sasuke and Tazuna headed towards the bridge but once they got there they saw something shocking. What happened here? Tazuna asks in shock. There's no doubt about it, it's Zabuza, Kakashi informs everyone. Sorry for keeping you waiting Kakashi however I see that those brats of yours are still trembling in fear how pitiful, Zabuza's voice came somewhere within the mist. I ain't trembling out of fear, I'm trembling in excitement, Sasuke said bravely. Oh you're different from last time, Zabuza said within the mist before he and Haku appeared on the bridge. Zabuza here isn't wearing the black sleeveless shirt and matching pants, complete with a waist guard, striped wrist and leg warmers and the bandages around his face were loosely like a scarf instead he's wearing the same outfit that he wore before and there's a reason why. Haku, you'll fight that black hair kid, said Zabuza. Yes, Zabuza-san, said Haku. Sakura, you stay close to Tazuna and guard him while Sasuke and I will handle Zabuza and his partner, said Kakashi. Just then 4 Zabuzas appeared surrounding Kakashi, Sasuke, Sakura and Tazuna however just as the 4 water clones were about to attack Sasuke quickly drew out his tanto and cut them up, all of them turning them back into puddles of water. I can see it, thought Sasuke. Oh, so you can see that they were water clones. That genin has improved. It looks like you got yourself a rival Haku, said Zabuza. So it would seem, said Haku. I have been looking forward to this fight, said Sasuke. Then let's see just how much you have improved then. Haku, you know what to do, said Zabuza. Yes, Zabuza-san, Haku said before he started to spin around so fast, making it almost impossible to see him at all. However, as he was close enough to Sasuke to cut him with his kunai, Sasuke had managed to block it with his tanto. Impressive, you managed to block my attack. Not many people can keep up with my speed, said Haku. You shouldn't expect anything less from a Uchiha elite like me, Sasuke said proudly. However, I had a key advantage over you, said Haku. Oh yeah, like what? Sasuke asked curiously. First, we are surrounded by water, and second, you only have one arm left to defend yourself from my next attack, said Haku. So what? I'll just counter it, said Sasuke. I highly doubt you can counter something like this with ease, Haku said as he started to do hand signs with only just one hand. What? He can perform ninjutsu with just one hand, Sasuke thought in shock while also curious if he could do it as well. I never heard of a ninja that can perform ninjutsu with only one hand, Kakashi said in shock. Haku is a prodigy like no other, Kakashi, Zabuza said proudly. Water style. 1,000 flying water needles of death, Haku said as he gathered water from what used to be Zabuza's water clones and from the misty air and created many needles which surrounded him and Sasuke, and then Haku used his control over them to fire them only at Sasuke. Sasuke-kun. Sakura shouted in worry. I have to remember Kakashi's training and what Naruto told me. I got to stay calm and focus my chakra and summon it at once on my feet like with the trees, Sasuke thought as he used his chakra to enhance his jumping speed for a brief moment to avoid Haku's needles. He vanished. Haku said, but as he looked up he saw Sasuke, who was just about to throw a couple shuriken at Haku. However, as he did, Haku managed to dodge each of them. However, Sasuke appeared behind him. You're not as fast as you think you are. From this moment forward you'll be the one trying to avoid my attacks, said Sasuke. As Sasuke and Haku's Haku clash again, Sasuke grabs another kunai which he throws at Haku's head. However, Haku manages to duck it, but that allows Sasuke to kick Haku in the face, sending flying towards Zabuza. That's not possible, nobody's faster than Haku, Zabuza thought in shock. You thought you were faster than me, as if. Now then, let's see what else I'm better than you are at, Sasuke said proudly. You made a huge mistake, underestimate these genin, Zabuza. You brought out Sasuke's determination to prove to you that you're wrong, as he's one of the most skilled young fighter back at the Hidden Leaf, and Sakura here is one of the most brightest in her class, and last but not least is Naruto Uzumaki, who is this year Rookie of the Year back at the academy in Konoha, and you have already seen that he always has a trick under his sleeves, said Kakashi. Haha Haku, if we keep going like this we will be the ones in trouble, so stop messing around and finish it already, said Zabuza. Right, Haku said as he started to release his chakra into the air. What is he planning on doing? Sasuke thought curiously. I am sorry it has come to this, Haku said as he started doing hand signs. The air is getting colder, said Sasuke. Ice style. Crystal ice mirror, said Haku. Suddenly ice started from behind Sasuke and then more started to form around him, making 12 ice mirrors hovering above the ground, then 8 more form hovering above the first 12, and finally one ice mirror formed facing downwards. What jutsu is that? How does it work? Kakashi said out loud. Haku walked up to one of the ice mirrors and then he walked inside of it where his reflection appeared in all the mirrors. What kind of technique is this? Sasuke thought curiously. I have to help him, Kakashi thought as he tried to run towards Sasuke but was stopped by Zabuza. If you want to enter that fight you'll have to fight me first, but your boy got no chance against that, justice, he's finished, said Zabuza. Now then I will show you what speed truly is, Haku said as he prepared his senbons. Around the same time at Tezuna's house. When Naruto finally woke up he sensed that his teammates and Tezuna were at the bridge fighting against Zabuza and Haku, so he got up and ran towards the bridge to help with the fight. However, a bit after he left, one of Tezuna's wooden wall was cut down into pieces and walk-in was Gato's 2 samurai bodyguards. What do you want? Tsunami is afraid of her own and her son's life. Our boss Gato wants you to come with us, so if you come willingly then you won't be harmed, said the samurai who was wearing a blue jacket. Mom, Inari said, crying. Should we take the brat as well? The samurai with the eye patch asked. No, the boss only wants the bridge builder's daughter, so just leave the brat here, said the samurai who was wearing a blue jacket. No you wouldn't, said Inari. Stay out of the way brat or else, the samurai with the eye patch said as he kicked Inari to the floor. No please don't hurt him, I will do anything you want, just don't hurt my son, Tsunami pleased. It looks like your mother saved you brat, you better be grateful, said the samurai who was wearing a blue jacket. Come on, let's go. The samurai with the eye patch said as he tied a rope around Tsunami's arms and pulled her out of the house. As the samurai took Tsunami away, leaving Indri alone and crying. Why am I so weak? I can't protect my mom, Indri thought before he then started to think about the people who were risking their lives for his home, and then Indri remember his stepfather's saying, if something is truly important to you, even if it's heartbreaking, even if it's sorrowful, you keep on trying and trying, even if you lose your life, you keep on protecting it with these 2 arms, then even if you do die you leave behind the proof that you are a man forever. Indri then whip away his tears. Protect what is precious to you with both arms, Indri said out loud before he ran outside and caught up with the 2 samurai and his mother. Mom! Indri shouted. Indri, what are you doing? Tsunami causes worry for her son. Yeah, what are you thinking of doing brat, do you want to die or something? The samurai who was wearing a blue jacket asked. I won't let you take someone else who is important from me ever again, said Indri. Indri, you can't win against them, just ran away. Tsunami shouted while crying, hoping that Indri would listen to her. I was going to let you live, brat, but now I'm going to end you, said the samurai with the eye patch. Don't take too long, the boss wants us back with the women as soon as possible, said a samurai who was wearing a blue jacket. Please don't hurt him, the Tsunami pleaded to the samurai. Too late lady, I made up my mind, so say your last goodbye to your brat, the samurai with an eye patch said as he drew his blade and changed at Indri. No Indri. Tsunami shouted with her eyes closed, not wanting to see her child be murdered in front of her. However, just as the samurai swung his sword downwards, he didn't kill Indri or even harm him. Instead he had cut a wooden log in half. What the? The samurai with an eye patch said in shock. Where the brat goes? He was there a second ago, the samurai who was wearing a blue jacket asked in shock, but then realized something was off. Then he looked down at the rope and saw that it was cut and the Tsunami was also gone. Where's she gone? Said the samurai who was wearing a blue jacket. What I hate most about people like you in this world is that you think you can do whatever you want to anyone and get away with it, a voice said, which sounded pisses. Both samurais turn around, they saw someone who was on their knees and had Tsunami in arm and Indri in the other. Who the hell is that? The samurai with eye patches asked. Naruto, Indri said happily. Who the hell are you, kid? The samurai who had an eye patch asked. As Naruto got up, he turned around and started to walk towards the 2 samurais while also releasing his blade from its seal. Someone who had enough scum like you, Naruto said before he disappeared in a burst of speed, and then both samurai were in the air and had cuts all over their bodies. What just happened? Both samurai thought before they passed out from the pain. Wow, Indri thought as he watched what had just happened right in front of him. One moment both samurai were fine and the next they were in the air and had cut all of them. Naruto put his sword back into the seal as well as took and sealed the samurai's swords, then he turned around and walked back to Tsunami and Indri just as the samurai fell and clashed on the ground. I'm sorry I wasn't here when they came. Naruto apologized, bowing his head. It's okay, at least you came before they did anything worse to us, said Tsunami. It will be safer if you two go somewhere that Gato's men wouldn't be able to find you, said Naruto. But where are you going, Naruto? Indri asked. To help my teammates and sensei out, said Naruto. Naruto then walks over to Indri and hands over one of his flying thunder god kunai to him before he disappears in a golden flash to where he was before on the bridge and leaving a shock Indri and Tsunami behind. What the? How did he do that? Said Indri. Back at the bridge, Haku started to throw many senbons at Sasuke, cutting him all over his body as well as being impaled into him, causing Sasuke yell out in pain. Sasuke, Kakashi said he was worried for his student's life. Sasuke-kun, Sakura shouted in worry for Sasuke's life. Just try and help him and I will kill the old man and the girl in a heartbeat, said Zabuza. Just as Haku prepared to throw more senbons, Sasuke's secretary did a couple of hand signs, and just before Haku started his attack again, Sasuke unleashed his jutsu. Fire style. Fireball jutsu, Sasuke said as he unleashed his fireball at one of the mirrors hoping to melt it. However, as the smoke cleared, it revealed it didn't do anything to the mirror at all. You won't be able to melt these mirrors with your flames, Haku said just before he started throwing more of his senbons at Sasuke. As Haku threw his senbons at Sasuke, something surprising happened. Sasuke managed to block each of them with his tanto. How did he manage to do that? Haku thought, but then he saw that Sasuke's eyes had changed from black into a blood red color with one tomato in each of them. I finally awakened my clan's legendary bloodline, the Sharingan, Sasuke said proudly. My first step towards achieving my revenge against him, thought Sasuke. It doesn't matter if you have unlocked your clan's bloodline, you still wouldn't win this battle, Haku said before he began to throw his senbons. This time was slightly different because now Sasuke was able to see where they were coming from, and so he was able to both dodge and block some of them. However, even though Sasuke was able to see them, his body wasn't fast enough to block or dodge all of them. Damn it, this shouldn't be happening. I have the Sharingan now, he shouldn't stand a chance against me, thought Sasuke. Simply having a bloodline doesn't make you stronger, they just give you advice over your opponent. Unless your opponent has the same bloodline as you, then it comes down to who has mastered it better than who, said Haku. Air. Sasuke yells out in pain as Haku's senbons cutting him all over his body, and it causes him to let go of his tanto where Haku throws one of his senbon, knocking it outside his crystal eye mirror dome. I'm sorry I can't stay with you forever, said Sakura. I understand now, said Tazuna. Sakura grabbed Sasuke's kunai and ran towards him in Haku's battle. Sakura, Kakashi said he was worried for his other student. Sakura grabbed Sasuke's tanto before jumping into the air and threw it back to him. However, as the tanto was close enough, Haku's attacks on Sasuke stopped because his upper body came out the mirror and caught the tanto. Oh no, he caught it, Sakura said, panicking that he was going to kill Sasuke with his own tanto because of her. Nice try, said Haku. But just then out of nowhere a shuriken came out and hit Haku's mask, which caused Haku to fall out the mirror. Where did that shuriken come from? Haku said as he looked around. Who threw that? Sakura asks out loud. Someone else is here, thought Zabuza. As everyone was wondering where the shuriken came from, two unique kunai were thrown at them, one at Sakura and the other where Sasuke was. However, as Kakashi saw the one by Sakura, he immediately recognized the type of kunai. That is the same type of kunai that Minato-sensei uses for the flying thunder jutsu, Kakashi thought in shock. Suddenly, in a quick golden flash, Naruto appeared standing over Sasuke where he grabbed Sasuke by his collar before they both disappeared in another quick flash of gold and then reappeared next to Sakura. What the? Sasuke-kun, Sakura said before she quickly ran to Sasuke and held him. That was flying thunder jutsu, but the color of the flash was a bit different, however there's no mistake about it, but how is that possible? Nobody other than Minato-sensei knows how to perform it, so how does Naruto know? Kakashi thought in shock. What just happened? One moment I was surrounded by that guy's ice mirrors, but now I'm here next to everyone else. What did he do just now? Sasuke thought, wondering what other skill does Naruto possess. Sorry I'm late, Naruto said as turn around to look at Zabuza and Haku. I was wondering where you were, said Zabuza. Well, I'm here now, said Naruto. Naruto, I'll fight Zabuza while you can handle that masked guy, said Kakashi. Sure thing Kakashi-sensei, said Naruto. Haku, you'll handle that brat while I'll finally end my unfinished business with Kakashi, said Zabuza. Yes, Zabuza-san, said Haku. Haku then did hand signs which made his ice mirrors scatter around the bridge, while Zabuza also did the same hand signs that he did back during his first fight against Kakashi. Hidden mist Justu, Zabuza said as mist covered the entire bridge. Naruto used his sensing ability to be able to track Haku within the mist, and they began their battle within it while Kakashi and Zabuza fought against each other as well. The fight between Kakashi and Zabuza will remain the same as in canon, so instead we'll focus on the fight between Naruto and Haku. As Naruto battles against Haku within the mist, Haku uses ice style to create a couple of ice spikes which he fires at Naruto, however he was able to sense them coming and managed to shatter them with a chakra mold ability to create chains. That weapon making ability of yours is impressive, said Haku. Why thank you, and so is your ice style, said Naruto. Haku then started to channel his chakra into his hands, which caused them to glow bright blue in a knife-like shape. Then Haku changed the form of his chakra into ice, freezing his hands, and when Naruto saw this he released his sword from its seal and prepared himself. As Naruto and Haku clash, attacking and blocking the other attacks until Haku managed to back away from Naruto, where then he pointed his right arm at Naruto and he channeled his chakra in it, where he began to fire multiple ice needles at Naruto which turned into ice needles, but Naruto managed to block them by using his sword. As Naruto did that, he also moved quickly closer to Haku, and as he finally reached Naruto swing his sword downwards, but Haku caught it by doing a X shape with his arms, and thanks to his hand being frozen he was unharmed. However, Naruto used this as an opportunity as he used his chakra mold to form a sword which he swing it upwards, and he managed to shatter the ice surrounding Haku's hands. Damn it, he's far more skilled than I originally thought, Haku thought as he backed a bit so that Naruto's blade wouldn't hit him. However, Naruto then kicked Haku in his stomach which sent him flying backwards, but Haku managed to stop himself. Haku quickly went and jumped into one of his crystal ice mirrors to ready his assault on Naruto. However, Naruto threw one his unique kunais slightly above the crystal ice mirrors that Haku was in, and he then appeared behind, and chakra chains burst out from Naruto's back and began to wrap themselves around, but Haku managed to escape before being caught by Naruto's chakra chains. Haku's crystal ice mirrors, it was shattered. What? Haku thought in surprise as nobody had ever shattered his crystal ice mirrors before. I'll just shatter your mirrors every time you try to use them, said Naruto. Then I'll just create more crystal ice mirrors, said Haku. Do that and you'll run out of chakra in no time, said Naruto. He's right, creating the crystal ice mirrors requires a bit of chakra, thought Haku. Naruto then began doing a couple hand signs and then called out, Shadow Clone Jutsu, and in a proof of smoke another Naruto appeared standing next to the original Naruto, and they both began doing different hand signs. Fire style. Fire Dragon Bomb Jutsu, the clone Naruto said as he exhaled a flame breath from his mouth. Wind style. Immense breakthrough, the real Naruto said as he expels it as a gust of wind from his mouth. As both Narutos unleashed their attacks at Haku at the same time, they combined into one, forming a more powerful fire attack which even burnt the ground as it made its way towards Haku, who began doing a couple of hand signs. Ice style. Ice wall jutsu, Haku said as he slammed his hands on the ground, and a marvel of ice quickly formed in front of him which protected him from Naruto's combined attack but was damaged in the process where it was melting away. Just as I thought, the best way to counter ice style is using another style which it would be weak against, like either lava style and boil style, a powerful fire style, or a combined attack using wind style and fire style, Naruto thought. As Naruto and Haku charged at each other again, battle with their weapons, Naruto with his sword and Haku with his normal kunai, as they attack each other, their slashes were so fast that civilians and many other shinobi wouldn't be able to see them. However, as they did clash, Haku saw that his kunai was breaking because of how strong Naruto's sword is, but then Haku tried to grab Naruto by his wrist. Naruto was this, and so he moved, causing Haku to catch his sword instead, which started to freeze, revealing that Haku can freeze things just by touching something. However, just as he tried to grab Naruto's wrist again, Naruto used the flying thunder jutsu to get away just in time. So he can freeze things by touching them, so he'll be dangerous to fight against in taijutsu, thought Naruto. Haku then did a hand sign which made his remaining crystal ice mirrors surround both himself and Naruto. When I try to shatter one of my crystal ice mirrors, that's when I'll attack, thought Haku. He thinks I can only shatter his crystal ice mirrors only one at the time, Naruto thought before he began to channel his chakra mold, and suddenly chakra chains burst out from his back which impaled all of Haku's crystal ice mirrors and then shattered them. Just then a loud noise caught everyone's attention which sounded like many chirping birds, and as Haku turned to see where it was coming from, he saw that Zabuza was in danger and Kakashi's hand was covered in lightning and was heading straight for Zabuza's chest. That's Kakashi's Chidori technique, Naruto thought, remembering through Minato's memories Kakashi's signature jutsu that he created back during the Third Great Ninja War. As Naruto and Haku turned to look at what was going on between Kakashi and Zabuza, they saw 8 hounds which were all different breeds, and they were wearing blue vest and had Konoha headbands around their necks, and all of them had their fangs in Zabuza's shoulder, arms and his legs, preventing him from moving, while close by Kakashi was readying his Chidori to their fight. However, just before Kakashi was about to finally finish Zabuza off, one of Haku's crystal ice mirrors got in between Kakashi and Zabuza, taking Kakashi's attack, which managed to get halfway inside, but it also damaged Kakashi's hand. Suddenly everyone heard clapping from one side of the bridge. As they turned around to see who it was, they saw Gato standing there with many of his henchmen. Gato, what are you doing here? Zabuza asked. I came here to finish some loose ends like you, said Gato. What do you mean about that? Zabuza asked. I have decided that you and your partner are no longer of any use to my plans anymore, so I am getting rid of you the fun away, said Gato. Gato then turned around to look at his men. Finish them all off and destroy once and for good, and you all will be pay Exeter. Gato announced, which then got cheers. Many of Gato's thugs who had a crossbow all lined up, and they aimed at Kakashi and Zabuza, but just as they fired them, someone called out, Earth style. Mud wall jutsu. Then a large slab of earth rises from the ground to defend both Kakashi and Zabuza from the attack, and as they turn around they see Naruto with his hands on the ground, meaning that he was the one who saved their lives. He possesses earth style as well, then that means he has all 5 chakra natures, but shouldn't be possible, especially for someone so young, Kakashi thought in shock. You two can't fight anymore, so I'll handle this mess myself instead, Naruto said as he walked towards thugs. Haha, you think a child can beat all of us? One of the thugs said in a mocking tone of voice. I'm not going to beat all of you, said Naruto. Then what are you going to do then, kid? The same thug asked. I'm going to kill every single one of you, Naruto said before he quickly threw one of his unique kunai at the thug. Then in a quick gold flash Naruto appeared right in front of the thug and he slit his throat open killing him, which shocked everyone. "Why you little bastard?" Another thug shouted as he charged at Naruto with a spear and he was aiming for Naruto's chest, but just as he was about to reach him Naruto jumped slightly landing on the spear and then he created an axe which he embedded into the thug's skull. The other thugs all surrounded Naruto and were about to stab him from all points. However, just as they gathered around him Naruto kneeled down and unleashed many chakra chains coming from his back impaling many thugs in their chests killing them. Once they fading away then Naruto in a burst of pure speed disappeared from their sight and before anyone could think about it Gato's thugs started to drop dead on the floor one by one until there was only a few remaining and Naruto reappeared right in front of last few who were terrified. "Don't just stand there, kill him," Gato shouted angrily. But he just killed most of us already," said one of the thugs. "If you kill him I will pay you all 10 times of what I promise." Gato shouted angrily. "Screw you and your money, I'm getting the bell out of here." One of the thugs before ran towards one of sides of the bridge to escape, but as he ran away he was slit in half by Naruto's wind slash. "I said I was going to kill all of you and that is what I am going to do," Naruto said in a serious tone and he then went into a stance with his sword and started to channel his chakra through it. "Great wind slash," Naruto said before he unleashed a larger version of the jutsu that he used against Kakashi back during the bell test which cut all the remaining thugs in half except for Gato who just stood there terrific. Please don't kill me, I'll pay you anything you want, I'll even leave this place for good," Gato begged on his knees. "I ain't, but I can't say for the villagers you tormented for years," Naruto said just before he punched Gato in the face breaking his nose and knocking him unconscious finally ending Gato's terror over the land of waves for good. "Holy shit," Zabuza said as he didn't expect all that. "What else are you Naruto hiding?" Kakashi thought. It has been a couple of days since the battle on the bridge and the end of Gato's reign of terror over the land of waves and now the bridge was finally completed, bring a new start for the villagers. Meanwhile with Team 7 after their battle Naruto, Sakura and Tazuna took Kakashi and Sasuke back to Tazuna's house so they could recover properly. While Naruto saw this as a perfect opportunity to go back to Gato's headquarters and so he used the seal that he left there to flash over there and then he made his way to Gato's vault where he went ahead and sealed up all of Gato's own money, books, paintings, statues and the orb that had the seals on. But as for all the money that Gato stolen from the villagers, Naruto planned to bring it to Tazuna who will return it, but as Naruto was about to leave he sensed that both Zabuza and Haku was there as well, most likely so that Zabuza could heal up properly as well. However, over the past couple after Kakashi had finally recovered from his wounds he then began trying to get Naruto to answer on how does he knows one of his sensei's two most famous technique, the Flying Thunder Jutsu, but sadly for Kakashi, Naruto wouldn't give him any kind of answer, so Kakashi decided that he would wait until they returned to the village where the third Hokage would get Naruto to answer. However, that didn't stop either Sasuke or Sakura from trying because Sasuke wanted to know how Naruto was able to get in and out of Haku's trap and perhaps he used it against his older brother, and as for Sakura she wanted to know because after seeing that her Sasuke-kun wanted to know she thought that if she found out and tells him then Sasuke would be pleased with her. The day that Kakashi decided that they should be heading back to Konoha, Zabuza and Haku came to them and told them that they were planning on go back to the land of water to rejoin Kurigakure, so not long after they bid their farewells it was for Team 7 to be leaving as well, but not before Tazuna announced the name he has chosen for their new bridge, which was after the person who protected his family and was the one who ended Gato the Naruto bridge. However, unknown to anyone is that Naruto had also stolen the deed to Gato's trading company, making him the new owner, and so Naruto made a deal with some of the people who had experience working in trading, and Naruto plan on reforming it to make some money out, while it can also bring some business back to the land of waves to help it recover, and Naruto also renamed the company to the Golden Fox Trading Company. Back at Konoha within the Hokage's office, there stood all of Team 7 in front of Hiruzen finishing their report about their mission, and to say that Hiruzen was shocked was an understatement, where he first heard about Naruto possessing a more advanced version of his mother's chakra mold ability, but that was nothing compared to when he heard that Naruto somehow knows the Flying Thunder Jutsu, the jutsu that was created by the second Hokage back during the clan wars and later be used Minato during the Third Great Ninja War, which was where he earned the nickname Sasuke. Sakura, you both can go home now while I will speak with your sensei and teammate alone, said Hiruzen. If you're going to ask him how exactly he knows that golden teleportation technique, I want to know how as well, Sasuke demanded while standing proudly with Sakura admiring him. If Naruto wants to tell you both, he can later on, or unless Kakashi thinks it's necessary for you to know, he will tell you both, but for now leave, Hiruzen said in a serious tone, which scared Sakura while it only scared Sasuke slightly. Once both Sasuke and Sakura finally left the room, Hiruzen turned his full attention back onto Naruto. Now Naruto, I believe it's about time you tell the truth, said Hiruzen. It's funny that you, of all people, always want me to tell you the truth, said Naruto. What's that supposed to mean, Naruto? Hiruzen asked. It's that you don't like it when I don't tell you every single little secret I know while you hide the truth about me from me, said Naruto. What have I hidden from you, Naruto? Hiruzen asked. Well, first was the fact that I'm the Jinchuriki for the Kyuubi, and the second is about who my parents are, said Naruto. Naruto, I didn't tell you that you were the nine-tail fox Jinchuriki because I wanted you to be ready, and as for your parents, I have planned that I would tell you when you were a chunin or when you were old enough, said Hiruzen. Well, you don't have to tell me now, I already know who they are, Naruto said, surprising both Kakashi and Hiruzen. Who do you think your parents really are, Naruto? Hiruzen asks nervously while he and Kakashi wonder if Naruto really does know who his parents really are. My mother was Kushina Uzumaki, Naruto said, shocking Hiruzen and Kakashi that he did actually know, but then Kakashi realized something, so decided to ask about it. Do you only just know who your mother is and not your father? Kakashi asked curiously. Yes, I know who my biological father is, the fourth Hokage Minato Namikaze, but he is no father to me, not one bit, Naruto said, shocking Hiruzen and Kakashi once again. Naruto, do you hate Minato? Hiruzen asked directly. Yes, I do, Naruto said, shocking Kakashi and Hiruzen. Naruto, your father was my sensei, and I know he did everything he could on the night that the Kyuubi attacked Konoha. So you can't hate him for making you into the Kyuubi's Jinchuriki in order to save the village that he loved, said Kakashi. He chose to sacrifice me, his only child, to save the same people who would later on treat me like garbage and even beat me into the ground, said Naruto. Now Naruto, you must understand that Minato could have never have predicted the villagers' reactions in such a way, said Hiruzen. Hokage-sama, it is well known throughout the entire elemental nations that Jinchurikis are not treated as human beings. I'm pretty sure that even he knew that, said Naruto. Naruto, if there was any way to save the Leaf Village and not make you into the Nine-Tails Jinchuriki, I know Minato would have definitely taken it, I'm sure of it, said Hiruzen. No, he still wouldn't, said Naruto. What do you mean about that, Naruto? Kakashi asked curiously. If there was such a way, he still wouldn't have taken it, because sure, it would have stopped the current distribution then, but he would have thought about the future of this village, which would be in the need for a Jinchuriki to use against any of its enemies in times of war, and so he would still have sacrificed me, Naruto said before he left the room, leaving behind a shocked Hiruzen and Kakashi. Well, that went well, said Hiruzen. How can Naruto hate Minato-sensei? Said Kakashi. He most likely blames Minato for everything he has gone through, said Hiruzen. I have to try and make him see the reason for Hokage-sama, said Kakashi. Yes, you must, Kakashi, but also try to find out whatever else he's hiding as well, Kakashi, Hiruzen said to Kakashi before he left the room. For the good of the village, I must think of something to ensure Naruto's loyalty to the village, thought Hiruzen. A few days later, at Konoha's North Gate, Team 7 had just returned to the village after retrieving some special herbs that grew not too far from Konoha for a mission. Alright everyone, now all we have left to do is to take these herbs back to the Hokage's mansion, Kakashi said to his team. However, just as they were about to walk towards the Hokage's mansion, they then saw a group of 4 Anbu Black Ops walking up the road into Konoha, and in the middle of them was a woman who had her hands tied behind her back. The woman was a fair-skinned, slender young woman with brown eyes and straight, dull green hair. When in disguise as a street performer, she wore a red, sleeveless top with fur surrounding the top of her chest and below her shoulders. She also wears a green and blue skirt over a striped blue, orange and yellow skirt, a pink sash around her waist and black sandals. Her hair fell down to her waist with one bang that covered her left eye, and she wore an orange hat with red horizontal stripes. Her makeup consisted of red lipstick and red eye shadow, and she had a beauty spot below her right eye. She also wore earrings made up of 3 purple pearls and a purple band around her neck. She wrapped yellow bandages around her hands and arms that reached just below her elbows. That woman, she's beautiful, Sakura said, admiring the woman's looks. And a criminal by the looks of things, said Sasuke. She's a spy from another village. She disguised herself as a street performer and came here trying to gain intel about the land of fire and on our village, but we managed to catch her before she got here, said the one of the gatekeepers. What's going to happen to her, Kakashi-sensei? Sakura asked curiously. Most likely she will be interrogated so we can learn what she may have learned about the land of fire and then anything she knows about her own village, said Kakashi. As they Anbu and the women walked past Kakashi and his team, the women then quickly gave a look at Kakashi, looking straight at his only visible eye before she turned away. In the interrogation rooms, the woman was currently strapped into a large metal machine with her head sticking out of it, while around her and the machine there were seals as well as their other on the back. There were 4 men in the room as well, 3 of which had their hands on the seals on the back, while the 4th man had his hand on the woman's head. The 4th man was Inoichi Yamanaka, a member of the Konohagakure Intelligence Division and a member of the old Ino Shika Cho squad, the head of the Yamanaka clan, and he was Ino's father. Inoichi had long ash blonde hair reaching into his back, which he wore spiky on top and ending in a long ponytail, blue-green eyes and strong facial features, which included a well-defined jawline. He wore the standard outfit of the Konoha interrogation unit, complete with a long black overcoat. Inoichi was currently using his clan's jutsu that allow them to look through someone else's memories, and he using it on the women to find out what she may have learnt about the land of fire and Konoha, as well as find anyone on her village. But what Inoichi discovered was that she haven't find anything important about the land of fire, and the Anbu had caught her before she could find anything out about Konoha. What Inoichi found next was shocking, as when he tried to find anything out on the women's own village, he couldn't find a single thing except for which village she comes from, the Hidden Lock village in the land of keys, as well as her name, which was Hanera. However, as Inoichi was about to give up, he did found one other memory, which was at a hill with a tree, and there was boy, and as Inoichi got a good look of the boy, he immediately recognized that it was a young Kakashi Hatake. The next day at the interrogation rooms, Kakashi was standing looking straight at the woman he only just saw yesterday, and now she had cuts and bruises all over her body after being interrupted. Kakashi had been called in on that morning by Inoichi because of what he had found out. Does she have memories of me when I was younger? Kakashi asked curiously. Yeah, they were the only few things I could find in her mind, in her name Hanera, It's most likely that she had purged them from her subconscious, said Inoichi. She purged them? Kakashi asked curiously. It's not unheard of for spies doing that, so anyways, do you recognize her at all, Kakashi? Inoichi asked curiously. No, I don't, I'm sorry, said Kakashi. It's a shame, however, when I was searching through her mind I felt something, I don't know what, but I can tell that she's hiding something, so I need your help finding out what it is, said Inoichi. But I'm not a member of the Intel Division, said Kakashi. No, but you're our best bet of getting to the bottom of this, and because you have the Sharingan you might be able to find out something more than even I can, said Inoichi. At Konoha's market. After his meeting with Inoichi, Kakashi was then ordered to spend the day with Hanara to see if he could find anything out, and so right now Kakashi was currently walking through Konoha's busy market street with Hanara following closely behind him, but she wasn't wearing the same outfit as before. Instead she had two bangs frame both sides of her face and wore a pale yellow kimono top that fell short above her waist and a red top underneath, light purple skirt and black shinobi boots. You must be some kind of a fool, you're showing me around the very same village that I came here to spy on. Hanara asked curiously what Kakashi was thinking. You won't see anything different here than from any other village, and besides I thought it would be nice to get you out of that small dark room you were kept in since you got here, Kakashi said with no care in the world because there wasn't anything important see in the market streets except for maybe special deals that were on. However, as they walked past Ichiraku ramen stand where Naruto was currently having and enjoying his lunch after finishing his afternoon training, but suddenly came to a stop because he had sensed that Kakashi was near, and Naruto original thought that Kakashi may try to convince him not to hate Minato again. However, to Naruto's surprise, as he looked to see where Kakashi was coming from, he also saw the women that his team saw yesterday walking next to him. Also currently Sakura was shopping at the Yamanaka clan's flower shop, and she was picking out some flowers but stopped when Ino, who was working there, went and told her that she just saw Kakashi through the window walking down the street with a beautiful woman walking besides him, so Sakura immediately went to investigate about it while Ino called out and told Sakura to tell her everything that she learns. As Kakashi and Hanara continued to walk down the street, they were spotted by Sasuke, who was there because he needed to buy some new supplies to be preparing for upcoming mission that Team 7 might be called upon. To his surprise, when he saw Kakashi walk with the same women that was brought in by a group of Anbu yesterday, so Sasuke decided to see what was going on, so he ran into a ally and hid behind a box, and he then sly on Kakashi and Hanara. It's that woman from yesterday, why is she walking next to Kakashi-sensei? Sasuke said to himself, but just then he felt someone leaning over him, and as he turned his head Sasuke said that it was Sakura and she had a bouquet of flowers. Maybe they are on a date, Sakura said happily. Perhaps, Sasuke said, but just then he spotted Naruto across the street on a rooftop, Naruto who was watching Kakashi and Hanara just like them. Sometime later, as Kakashi and Hanara continued their walk, they made their way up a large hill which gave them a good look over Konoha's market street, and behind them was, and within it was, Sasuke and Sakura hiding, and below them was Naruto watching Kakashi and Hanara. Kakashi was standing underneath the tree while Hanara was standing a bit further away from him. You don't have to keep your distance from me, I promise that I won't try to get any information from you. I was just asked to speed the day with you, but once the day is done, so is my assignment, said Kakashi. What will come of me after these words? Hanara asked. I don't know, Kakashi simply said while looking up at the clouds. That cloud looks like Sakura and the one next to it looks like Sasuke, Kakashi said, which made both Sasuke and Sakura panic within the tree. When I look up at the clouds I see my mother and father who gave life to me, but I knew neither them. However, when things were hard and I was sad, I would look up at the clouds and I would stare at them and let my imagination run wild, and I would think about the village where I was born and imagine what would my parents would be like. Those daydreams help me to get through my loneliness and the pain from not knowing where my true home and where my true family was. It was my only way live as a spy, said Hanara. They both seem to be perfect for each other, don't they? Said Sakura. That's ridiculous, said Sasuke. I wasn't allowed to have a home and I had to live outside of the village, so I couldn't give any information about it if I was captured. All this time I have risked my life on missions for a homeland I have never even seen before. That's why having a home where people who would accept me is so important, said Hanara. Why are you telling me all of this now when you have been silent all day? Kakashi asked. Because there is something you have taught me, said Hanara. Kakashi said as he turned his head towards Hanara. I knew it was you the moment I saw you as I came to your village, the boy from my past. Years ago when I was just a child I had decided that I would meet my parents, and so I went out to found my village, but I got lost. I was feeling helpless, and that was when we meet. You told me that whenever I was feeling sad I should look up at the clouds, that when the clouds change shape I could change them into whatever I wanted. You promised me that as long as I have hope the clouds would give me the comfort that I needed, and from then on I search the clouds for your likeness. That's why I recognize you right away, even though time has changed you, because you always been in my heart. You gave me hope when things were the darkness, said Hanara. Wow, they are perfect together, Sakura whispered to Sasuke. However, just then the branch that was on finally broke, which caused them to fall and push Kakashi towards Hanara. Naruto, who was nearby watching everything, just shook his head and said to himself, idiots. While Sasuke and Sakura groaned in pain from their fall, Kakashi however was on top of Hanara and their lips was almost touching if it wasn't for Kakashi's mask, and they were looking straight into each other's eyes. And when Sasuke and Sakura had fell on Kakashi, one of them knocked his headband, causing it to become undone and revealing his Sharingan eye. As Kakashi finally got off Hanara, he then turned around and looked at Sasuke and Sakura, who finally got themselves up, and Naruto, who had finally revealed himself. What are you three doing here? Kakashi asked curiously. Well, you see, here you go, we thought that you might need these, Sakura said, holding up the bouquet of flowers. What? Kakashi said, not understanding what was going on. However, behind him Hanara, who finally got herself, just smiled. Thank you, Hanara said happily. In the mission assignment room. In the room was the Hokage, the people who assigned missions, and in front of them was Team 7 and behind them was Ibiki and Inoichi. We have received word that the Hidden Lock village has captured Richi, one of our Jonin, said Hiruzen. The Hidden Lock village, said Ibiki. It's the village where we believe the spy comes from, said Inoichi. Yes, the Lock village has offered a trade for her and in exchange for Richi. However, lucky for us, she had gathered little information about the land of fire and our village, so exchanging her would be harmless, said Hiruzen. No, you can't. I mean, I'm completely against giving her back, said Kakashi. Said Hiruzen. On a large wooden bridge. The exchange was to be held on the borders between the land of fire and the land of rivers on a large wooden which was over a chasm and a river. One side was Kakashi, Hanara, Naruto, Sakura, Sasuke and 3 other Jonin, while on the other side of the bridge there was elderly man, 6 shinobi wearing the same outfit and 1 man who was wearing the Konoha standard uniform. The shinobi from the Hidden Lock village uniform was all the same. A brown flak jacket with a red mesh top underneath, black pants with bandages around their right thigh and calves, brown shin guards, black fingerless gloves that stretched to the top of their biceps, and black shinobi boots. As for the elderly man, he had medium-length gray hair, which he kept in a ponytail, and a long hanging mustache of matching color. His body was of a slim build and his face had a somewhat narrow jawline. He was wearing a conical straw hat, handguards, and he had a cloak which hid most of his body, and he was carrying a monk's staff, which had a lock hanging from the two lower rings at its top. Kakashi and Hanara walk across the bridge as well as the elderly man and Richi, but they stop both. They reach the middle of the bridge and then slowly Hanara and Richi both walk to their comrade. However, once Richi walks past Kakashi, he then pulls out a kunai. Now! Kakashi shouted, and then the three Jonin and a group of Anbu Black Ops who jumped out of the bunches ran towards him. "We won't let you get away," said Kakashi. "I expected as much," the elderly said before he did a hand sign which caused the explosion tags which he planted to explode. "Hanara, you must deliver the intel," the elderly said before he ran down the right side. "Right," Hanara said before she ripped her clothes off, revealing her Jomei Shinobi uniform, and she had her forehead protector around her forehead and she had tied her hair in a loose ponytail with a red ribbon, while still letting two bangs frame her face, and then she ran away in the opposite direction from the elderly man. "I'll go after her while you three will handle the other one," Kakashi told his genin before he gave chase to Hanara. As Naruto, Sasuke and Sakura chase after the elderly man who was surprisingly fast for his old age. However, it wasn't enough as Naruto managed to catch up and threw 3 kunais at him, but the elderly man used his staff to block the kunais. However, he was stopped as he was surrounding with Naruto in front and with Sasuke and Sakura behind him. "Give up your number and be surrounded," Sasuke demanded. "Yeah, you better listen to Sasuke-kun," Sakura said, being a fangirl like always. "Don't underestimate the shinobi of the hidden lock," the elderly man said before he threw a smoke tag on the ground and it went off, covering the area. Naruto quickly did a couple hand signs and said, "Wind style, wind palm jutsu," where he unleashed his technique to get rid of the smoke. However, once the smoke cleared, it revealed elderly man was gone, so Naruto then used his sensory skill to locate him, but to Naruto's surprise he couldn't at all. "How did he do it? I know there's no way he got out of my range that fast, so how?" Naruto thought curiously. Kakashi and Hanara. As Kakashi chased after Hanara until they came to a cliff where Hanara managed to stop herself before falling, she then turned around to face Kakashi. "So you knew, but how?" Hanara asked curiously. "It was that day you were wavering a sign with your eye movements without even realizing my Sharingan followed the signs and I learned your jutsu. When I use it, I was able to see inside my own mind. That right eye of yours doesn't look at the outside world, it instead looks inside your inner world, inside your own mind, and it can look into any thoughts of anyone who has entered your own mind as well. You allow yourself to be captured and waited until we try to obtain any of your secrets, though entering your mind, and while Inoichi was trying to get any information from your mind, you were able to gather his secrets on the land of fire and the hidden leaf village without Inoichi even noticing at all, and you would be able to take all information with you after we exchanged prisoners. At first I was against the swap, but I knew it was our best chance of getting Richi back, so we planned to return you back to the hidden lock village to get Richi back and then recapture you before you could hand over your intel, Kakashi explained. "You didn't have to do that. The information that I have gathered I have erased from my mind," said Hanara. "Do you really expect me to believe that?" said Kakashi. Hanara then walked towards Kakashi. "Use your Sharingan and see for yourself, please. I want you to do this so I would know you do believe me," said Hanara. "Hanara," said Kakashi. "The Leaf Village is just what I imagine my real home would be like. Walking through it with you felt like I have returned home, even though it was my first time, and when your students gave us their blessing I felt like I was expecting into the village I truly it, and that's why I won't do it. I won't betray the place I call home." Hanara. Before Kakashi could finish his sentence, he was interrupted by Hanara. "Even if I go back now, I would most likely be arrested for deleting the intel I had and then be killed, and so I want to die believing that for the first time I was able to do something good for the only place that I have ever felt at home," said Hanara. "I'm sorry, but I can't kill someone who has lost their pride as a shinobi. A true shinobi never allows their emotions to cloud their thoughts during a mission." I wanted us to battle to the death as true shinobi even for their own village but now, said Kakashi. So that's your answer, said Hanara. Go, Kakashi simply said. However, Hanara's answer was, no. Hanara, I am not going to kill you, so you better go before anyone from my or your village shows up, said Kakashi. I'm not leaving because I want to join Konoha, said Hanara. Hanara, I don't think the Hokage would allow you to join us after all of this, said Kakashi. He will if you help me to convince him, and I will hand over the information that I have on the hidden lock village, like the type of jutsus, how our spy system and any other things that I know, said Hanara. Even if you did have that information, Inoichi would have found it when he was inside of your mind, but he didn't because you had purged them from your mind, said Kakashi. I do know the purge technique. However, from what you have seen, I do know mind techniques, and the hidden lock village had created a sealing jutsu which allows you to seal away any secret information that you might know, so that when I am gathering the intel from the person who has entered my mind with my eye technique, they wouldn't find any useful information from me. The technique is called the knowledge lock seal, Hanara explained. Something like that would be useful especially for members of the Anbu Black Ops, Kakashi thought. Okay Hanara, let's return back to the Hidden Leaf village then, Kakashi said as he and Hanara then began to walk back to the bridge. After their conversation, Kakashi and Hanara headed back to the bridge, where the rest of Team 7 were surprised when they saw Hanara unharmed and unrestrained. Kakashi then explained the situation to them, who accepted the quick explanation but still kept a tight watch on Hanara. After arriving at Konoha, Kakashi and Hanara immediately head to the Hokage Tower to explain Hanara's current predicament to Hiruzen. After hearing the explanation, Hiruzen was quite surprised to see Hanara was willing to part with several of Jomei village's secret jutsu to join Konoha. When Hiruzen questioned Hanara as to why she was so willing to leave Jomei village, Hanara answered that Jomei village was never really a home to her, as she had never been or seen the village as to side that should she be captured they weren't gain any useful intel on it, and that Konoha seemed much better alternative. After a long discussion between the three, they came to the conclusion that Hanara will have to go through rigorous testing and interrogation to determine if she was truly trustworthy to join Konoha's forces. Later, with Konoha's council. After 1 hour, all of the members of the Konoha's council sitting down by a large wooden U-shaped table, who were the clan heads of all the clans within Konoha: the Hyuga, Aburame, Inuzuka, Sarutobi, Nara, Akamiki, Yamanaka, Shimura and Kurama. Though there were empty seats, Uzumaki, Senju and Uchiha. Next was the high-ranking shinobi commanders. Then there were civilian side of the council, which were all the most wealthiest merchants within Konoha, and finally the three elders, who were all students of the former second Hokage Tobirama Senju, and in the middle of all of them was the third Hokage. Now then, I've been wondering why exactly you have called this council meeting so suddenly. Hiruzen asked curiously. We call this meeting Hokage-sama because of a recent report about a mission, said Inoichi. I see, and what mission are you wondering about? Hiruzen asks, but he can already guess what they were talking about. It's the mission involving Team 7 and the Land of Waves, said Shikaku. Okay, and what have you been wondering about? Hiruzen asked. You know exactly what we've been wondering about, Hiruzen, and I'll ask you directly, is it true that the genin Naruto Uzumaki knows the Flying Thunder Jutsu, the same jutsu that our sensei and the second Hokage Tobirama Senju created and Minato Namikaze used during the Third Great Ninja War, as well as Naruto possessing a more advanced version of the chakra mold ability that Kushina Uzumaki possessed? Danzo said, wanting to know the truth. Hiruzen took a deep breath, as he already knew what everyone else's reaction would be like. Yes, it is indeed true. Naruto Uzumaki knows the Flying Thunder Jutsu and possesses a more advanced version of the chakra mold ability, Hiruzen said, shocking everyone. How's that possible? Minato didn't teach anyone the Flying Thunder Jutsu, even to his own students, so how is this possible? A more advanced version of the chakra mold ability. I wonder what exactly he can do with it. The demon is getting too strong. We must do something before it tries to destroy the village again. Hirsuen, do you know how exactly this knows the flying thunder jutsu and possesses that bloodline? No, I don't know how exactly Naruto knows that jutsu, but as for the chakra mold ability, I believe it somehow evolved within him, perhaps because of the Kyuubi's chakra, said Hiruzen. What exactly can he do with the chakra mold ability now? Shikaku asked curiously. He's able to do not only to do actual damage to someone besides suppressing anyone's chakra, and he can form it into anything else besides just chains, Hiruzen explained. The ability to not only suppress anyone else's chakra but also to be able to do damage and create other weapons would be a useful ability to possess, said Shikaku. Indeed it would be, said Inoichi. And then you add the fact that he knows the flying thunder jutsu, said Choza. And from what I heard he's also a very talented genin, said Sum. We must find out how does he know the flying thunder jutsu in first place, said Hayashi. Indeed, in case anyone who is planning to betray the village gets their hands on it as well and they share it with our enemies, said Shibi. I must try to get this boy into the foundation with the power of the Kyuubi as well as the chakra mold ability, and him knowing the flying thunder jutsu. He would prove to be a useful weapon for the village in my hands, and I'll make him teach all my other shinobi the flying thunder jutsu as I have been after it for years, thought Danzo. A week later with Team 7. Ever since their last mission involving the Jome village, Team 7 has only done low-ranking missions again, and now Kakashi stood in front of his 3 genin finally finishing their mission. And with that our mission is complete and so you are all dismissed, said Kakashi. But it's only 10 a.m. we can still do another mission, said Naruto. Shut Naruto Baku, I'm tried, so that's it for today. Sakura shouted angrily. We literally have only just done 2 easy missions which were very simple missions and you've already tried. You really need to train some more, said Naruto. Shut Naruto Baku, I can't train too much or I'll get too muscular and Sasuke won't like me. Sakura shouted. 2 things about Sakura is that you need to at least train to be able to say that you can't train too much, and secondly there are plenty of kunoichi who train but instead of becoming muscular they got a great body from doing it, Naruto said, surprising Kakashi. Wait, so he checks out kunoichis, thought Kakashi. All these missions we've been doing have been nothing more than simply chores. I need a better mission, Sasuke said proudly. How else am I going to get even stronger besides training? Sasuke thought. Yes, Sasuke-kun is right, he deserves a superior mission. Sakura shouted. There isn't any better mission you can do anyway. That is, we'll meet up here tomorrow morning, Kakashi said before walking away, leaving his students on their own. Maybe now cause we're finished early Sasuke and I can hang out together and he would see how perfect we are for each other, thought Sakura. You heard him, Sasuke-kun, so how about today just the 2 of us? Before Sakura could finish she was interrupted by Sasuke. I'm going home, Sasuke said as he started to walk back to the Uchiha clan compound. There is one mission, Naruto said to himself under his breath but was overheard by Sasuke and Sakura. What are you talking about? Sasuke asked curiously. There is one mission that if we succeed it will come with a great reward and we will be known throughout the entire village for it and almost everyone will be jealous of us, said Naruto. Like what? Sasuke asks, getting even more curious. To see what exactly Kakashi-sensei's face really looks like under that mask, said Naruto. I hate to admit it but he does get a point, I wouldn't mind seeing what he actually looks like, thought Sasuke. There's no way you will be able to get Kakashi-sensei's mask off, right, Sasuke-kun, said Sakura. I wouldn't mind seeing what Kakashi really looks like, said Sasuke. I couldn't agree more, Sakura said, changing what she said a second ago. What a total fangirl, thought Naruto. But how do we find out what he really looks like? Sakura asked curiously. Just a man with brown hair, gray eyes, purple marks around his eyes that go down his cheeks. He was wearing a green trench coat, a light brown scarf wrapped around his neck and had a bag on while holding a camera. The photo submitted to the Hokage for the ninja registration form should be one of him without a mask on, but it's an extremely classified top secret document. Accessing it would be no easy task, said the man. Who are you? Sasuke asked curiously. I'm Sukeya, a photographer. I travel to the east and west looking for scoops and I have been searching around for a scoop and I happened to overhear an interesting conversation, said Sukeya. However, Naruto knew who he really was. Despite the disguise, there was one thing that the person couldn't disguise, and that was their chakra signature, and this person in front of them was none other than Kakashi, and Naruto used his sensing ability to see if this was transformation, but it wasn't. Instead it was a get-up, meaning that it was Kakashi's actual face. So that's what he looks like under his mask, thought Naruto. Well, you were right. There's a rule that the phone for the ninja registration form must be on your entire face, said Sasuke. Will you let me join you in this adventure? Sukeya asked. What's your motive? Sasuke asked curiously. If I'm able to capture this Kakashi guy without a mask, I'll have the biggest scoop since the hidden leaf was established, said Sukeya. I don't think seeing your actual face would be that important, thought Naruto. Even if it's hushed up, I'm sure to make a lot of money out of this, said Sukeya. Will we be getting some money out for this as well? Sakura asked curiously. I'll buy you all dinner, so how's that sound, said Sukeya. Fine. This may turn out interesting, said Sasuke. Well, I got nothing better to do, thought Naruto. Sometime later. It was dark when Team 7 sneak into the area where Konoha kept its confidential documents on its own shinobis, the ninja registration forms, and currently Naruto, Sasuke, Sakura and Sukeya aka Kakashi were hiding in a building planning their next move. So the secret documents are stored here, so this is an infiltration mission. Mr. Sukeya, will you be able to keep up? Said Sakura. Will you be able to? Thought Naruto. Before I started taking pictures I was a rank and file ninja, said Sukeya. Alright then, let's being the mission, said Naruto. With that, all four of them went and stealthily jumped across the buildings, avoiding the guards, and Finchley entered the building where the room that they needed to get into had a lock on the door, so Sasuke try lock pick it despite Naruto could do it easily with his chakra mold ability to form the key to unlock it, but he had no luck. Can we switch? Said Sukeya. As Sukeya and Sasuke switched places, Sukeya immediately started to try to unlock the lock and he managed to do it quickly without any trouble at all. Wow, it's open, said Sakura. Sukeya, what division did you belong to? Sasuke asked curiously. The intel unit that reported directly to the Hokage, Sukeya said, surprising Sasuke and Sakura. That's that. Sakura asked curiously. The Anbu Black Ops, said Sasuke. Things happened and now I'm retired, said Sukeya. Considering your past, is it wise for you to be doing this? You'll be targeted by the Anbu. Sasuke asks. Don't worry about it now, come on. Let's go, Sukeya said as he opened the door, and as they entered the room it was large and had many shelves that had boxes on them. We have to search in all of these. Sakura asks. Let's hurry, said Sukeya. After a while of Team 7 and Sukeya searching those boxes filled with documents about Konoha's shinobi, trying to find Kakashi's document, and eventually one of them found it. Found it. This is it, Sukeya said. Sasuke and Sakura rushed over to him while Naruto simply walked. Okay. Let's open it, Sukeya said as he opened the document and slowly pulled out the sheet of paper. We've been found, thought Naruto. Just then 4 cloaked and masked people appeared right behind them. We're taking you in, make a move and we'll take that as resistance. Depending on the situation we may have to take you down, said one of the Anbu Black Ops members. Afterwards, the four Anbu Black Ops member brought Team 7 and Sukeya straight to the Hokage's office where the third Hokage and a shadow clone of Kakashi was waiting, and the Hokage then gave them all a long lecture and threatened them that if they do something like that again they would send to prison or worse. Really? An infiltration mission? Said Kakashi. I'm so sorry, I tried to stop them, but they insisted, said Sukeya. So you planned on blaming us from the start if this failed, said Sakura. They wanted to see what you really look like, said Sukeya. You're a former Anbu Black Ops, aren't you? Honestly. Who cares what I really look like? Said Kakashi. Well, I won't lie, I'm a bit curious to know myself, said Sukeya. Anyways, try not to get in any more trouble, okay? Kakashi said before he performed the Shinshin no Jutsu to vanish. But not far from Team 7 and Sukeya down the road, hiding from them, was the real Kakashi, meaning that one that they were talking to was just a shadow clone, and this Kakashi didn't have his mask on, showing that he has a narrow jawline and a beauty mark under the left corner of his mouth. However, just as Kakashi put his mask back on, he looked up at the sky and there he saw something shocking. On top of the building that was in front of him was Naruto looking straight at him before vanishing in a golden flash. Wait, did he know that it was me the whole time? Kakashi thought in shock. But what Kakashi didn't know was that just before he spotted Naruto, he had a camera with him and he took a picture of Kakashi's face without his mask on. So friends, this was episode 2, the last episode and final part of What If Naruto Unlocked Uzumaki and Namikaze Bloodline at the same time. This story is now officially complete. Thank you for joining Naruto's incredible journey from the moment he unlocked his dual bloodline heritage to the very end of his legendary adventure. If you enjoyed this complete series, make sure to like, share, and subscribe to the channel for more amazing Naruto fanfics. Also comment below and tell me your favorite moment from the story and which fanfic you would like to see next. Thank you for supporting this story from episode 1 all the way to the finale. This was the final episode of the series. See you in the next adventure, friends.